Well, there goes the Daverhood. Make it through with that, but I coughed at the end of it. It's time for Dave's Gone By, live on this Saturday morning, January 9th, 2021.
Look how beautiful you look with your little nanny stuff behind you.
Yeah, look at it. It's like a whole explosion.
It looks like an explosion of DGB love.
And then color. There it is. My wife designed all of this. It's DGB for Dave's Gone By, of course. The number sign, which I realize now it should have like two things across. That's why it looked weird to us. The number is like a hatch mark, isn't it? When you do number, or is it two across?
I don't know.
But anyway, we got the number sign and we got the beautiful red numbers here, 780, for the 780th episode of Dave's Gone By. It's our first complete episode of this year, because our last show was on New Year's Eve, of course. I hope you were able to join us and enjoy all the guests that we very quickly and very briefly had on that program Thursday night, December 31st, going into Friday, January 1st, into the new year. And it's been, an uneventful year so far. Oh, man. That's what's the old line? It couldn't get worse. Of course it could get worse. Anything could get worse. If you told Jews in Germany in 1943, New Year's, it's got to be it couldn't possibly be worse than the year before. Believe me, it could. But I'm here, we're here, coming from the Daverhood right at you on this January 9th. I've got my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, with us. Joyce, how are you?
Good. I'm trying to post. I can't. Apparently, I can't. I don't know. I'm messing up everything.
Well, Joyce kind of is behind the scenes. She's sort of the Fred Norris, Robin Quivers, and
I can't even post a thing.
Rolled into one. She's having some issues posting and doing the watch party that we do. But hey,
I can't do the watch part. Oh, I mean, that's why I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, make sure you're in Joyce.
I know.
The other thing, but yeah. We've been doing this show since October of 2002. Honest to gosh, and that's how we've racked up 780 shows so far. And some things have changed over the 18 plus years that we've been on the air. And some things are kind of same as it ever was, if you will. And that's kind of how I like it. New stuff all the time, but also being a bit nostalgic for the old stuff. Anyway, I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and here's what we're going to be doing on this episode of the show. I'll be yakking at you for a bit, and then we'll go to where Joyce and I lived for about 9 years, Greeley, Colorado, for a segment called Greeley Crimes and Old Times. If you've been watching the show the last 5, 6, 7 years, you know that segment. It's a lot of fun. We have our Inside Broadway segment. We have some Broadway news. None of it good. But we do have some Broadway news for you. And then we have our yesterday quiz, a trivia quiz, where you can kind of play along and see if you can answer trivia questions based on what happened in history on this day, January 9th. And then our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, can't do without that. And then we talk about a sad way to start the year. One of the things that happened is literally 3 days into the new year. So you're figuring, okay, last year was insane. Last year was all about the pandemic and all about riots and all about just people trying to get by. And I mean, it was 2020. It will go down in history, right? So we get through New Year's Day and everything's great. Everything's fine. I mean, the pandemic's still with us, right? But there's going to be an orderly transition of power in America, and we're just hanging out. It's fine. The weather's okay. Great. Second day of the new year for me, my wife, my family, just uneventful, right? Eat, sleep, work, read, relax, watch TV. Fine. Third day of 2021, right? here we are on the 9th. This is going back to like a third day, a week ago already, of 2021. And my aunt, I don't know, did Esther get the call or did Deborah get the call first?
I'm not sure.
But
You got the information. I got it from you.
either my aunt or her daughter got the call that my aunt's ex-husband, they've been divorced for 2-3 decades already. He's been living in Charleston, South Carolina with his girlfriend for a bunch of years. Okay, that's fine. Whatever issues they had years and years ago, I haven't seen the man in probably more than 2 decades. Was he at our wedding? Do you remember? Did we invite him to the wedding?
I don't remember our wedding.
That should tell you something. He'd be in the pictures if we did. I don't recall. I think I wanted to invite him, and it was some sort of problem because he was obviously divorced from my aunt at that point. Whatever. Anyway, so third day of the new year. He is 85 years old. His girlfriend is 77 years old.
I thought he was 84.
Yeah. And they're driving in Charleston, South Carolina. And what happens? So there's an emergency of a police vehicle that is responding to some kind of disturbance call, right? A crime in progress, whatever it is. And the police vehicle, I'm assuming with a siren on, is going forward. And my uncle Sonny, is making a left turn. And for whatever reason, the cop didn't stop or see him or whatever happened, they're investigating. The cop just went, T-boned him, right in the intersection.
I think it was a sheriff, David.
Well, that's right, it was a sheriff who was, I think, on administrative leave at the moment, and just smacked into, and my God, may God strike me if I ever buy a Hyundai.
David, do you have any stories about him?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do later. But I'm setting up those stories now, because so the sheriff's driving along, probably in pursuit or responding to something very quickly, goes, and if you saw the condition of the car, if you saw what a vehicle, and I'm not talking about a tank, I'm not even talking about an SUV, I'm talking about a cop car going, the aftermath of hitting this little baby ass Hyundai. I mean, it's just complete. They told me when we had hail damage on our beloved Subaru about 3 years ago when we were leaving Colorado, and we left our car out while we went shopping, and a freak hailstorm hit while the car was in the parking lot, and just went, and we came out and it was pockmarked all to hell, but it ran. I mean, it was all visual damage to me. And yet when we try to get it, the hood fixed or this fixed, they said, oh no, it's not insurable, it's not anything, it's totaled. Like, what are you talking about, it's totaled? It's just visual.
The cosmetic damage.
Yeah, it runs, didn't hurt the engine, didn't hurt the catalytic converter, didn't hurt I guess didn't hurt anything in the trunk, didn't hurt the tires, the wheel, it just made it look terrible. How is that total? But no, by their definition, the car was totaled, which was fine because we got a nice check from the insurance company and et cetera and so forth. But if I tell you my uncle's car was what I would consider, it was in 2 pieces, smashed to pieces, as was, I know it's a horrible way to put it, as was my uncle and his girlfriend. They were killed, I'm pretty sure, I hope, instantly. I hope the minute that the police vehicle went into them, that was it. Because I had to remove, I guess I had to do the jaws of life thing to get them out of the vehicle. So I'm hoping that they weren't even alive or conscious for that. And that, 2 hours later, dying on the way to the hospital or what have you. So that was the beginning of the new year for me, a year that couldn't get worse. Somehow last year, miserable and awful as it was, I didn't lose a close family member, no cousin or first cousin, certainly, no, thank God, parent, no, I don't have brothers and sisters. My wife has no brothers and sisters. Her parents are still got really alive. I mean, it's just like, somehow we made it through the year that was killing thousands of old people, tens of thousands of old people, and we got through 2020. 2021, my uncle gets smashed to bits in a vehicle driving along in Charleston, right? And I'm sure, they're investigating. They're going to figure out what the crash. And you can go. You can look on the Charleston newspapers and see the smash and see that they're investigating. It's interesting that for about 3 days they wouldn't say who the victims were, who the dead were, because they actually called my mom's sister's granddaughter, my mom's sister's daughter, excuse me, to have her and her husband come down. They had to drive down to Carolina to identify the body, even though they identified the body. If they knew to call her, can you identify the corpse that we have? And it's like, well, if you know that in his wallet is whatever information, I'm assuming a driver's license, depending on who was driving, why do you need this girl? They have to fly down in a pandemic. Why do you need them to drive 11 hours down to the Carolinas to go to the morgue to identify a body that you know is who it is because you just called her? I don't understand these things. I just don't. But anywho, I mean, just there's the interesting thing is all the different kinds of ironies that go on, aside from stories I want to tell about my Uncle Sonny later in the show, because I wouldn't say I was tremendously close to him, but as a kid, we got along really well. And he was a very cool, hip dude. He was in some ways the most New Yorky, hip person of my family, and the biggest outlier, apart from my other cousins who were actual hippies that we lived next to in an apartment in New York. But he was the closest to a hipster. They were 60s, he was 50s, right? He was bodybuilder, not quite professionally, but on an amateur level. So if you see, we found pictures of him living in Charleston, and these probably were taken maybe a year or two ago with family. And he looks great. He looked absolutely the way I remember him 30 years ago, a little older, his face a little more, it's not even wrinkled, which is weird considering he's been living down south, but it's him. And doesn't look like he still has an ounce of fat on him, which is quite amazing. And that is because he always took amazing care of himself.
So,
and
I wanted to tell you,
yeah,
won't let me invite anybody in the watch party. Look, my thing is different.
I don't know what happened to the watch parties.
I'm gonna try to.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping folks are watching, by the way. If you can type in and say hi, would love to hear from you. So a couple of really cool things. There's a great story that I remember being told about my uncle. I might as well talk about him now, about my Uncle Sonny in his real bodybuilding years. And he was not, by the way, ever a steroidal, gorilla type. It was always about just having the best possible healthy, but bulked.
You know what got him into it?
I don't know. I guess I have to ask my Aunt Esther, how he initially got into it. I mean, I guess it was around the time it was the 50s that he was doing it. So it would have been those years of Charles Atlas, don't get sand kicked in your face by bullies and people, buying barbells and things and wanting, to that 50s ideal of the male macho physique thing that I guess starting Jack LaLanne was on TV. I guess it was a thing back then. What was on TV back in 1957? Yeah, maybe Twilight Zone, a couple of comedies, and wrestling. Wrestling, right? You see these big, Monongahela guys.
This is Rage Against the Machine.
Cool.
Can you read it?
Well, Joyce is showing me a picture of Nazi Lives Don't Matter.
It's Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Cool. So he would, and the thing is, when you're building up your body that way and doing heavyweight training, sometimes probably some weights that were a little too heavy for him to be dealing with him healthily, but he would, yeah, he knew his limits, and as bodybuilders will, he pushed them, but he never did any of that weird HGH or steroid. He started doing this way before that was a thing. So he was always normal, but you eat when you're doing, you're going to be eating a lot, healthy stuff, but a lot. Right? And now, of course, the new science, the science that we're watching documentaries about now, is that, well, you don't need to eat meat. That's a big lie, that you need, the proteins and meat and the red meat and blood to have this and that and the chicken. And no, you can be a fantastically healthy and even better bodybuilder and athlete if you just have a vegetarian diet. This is going back 60 years already. But the one thing that he knew and that he did was you need greens. You need fruits and nuts and well, greens particularly. So he would eat salad. He would just devour salad. He and my aunt once went to a restaurant and he went to the salad bar and he didn't just take a little bowl for some lettuce and some tomatoes and carrots and onion and what have you. He literally took the entire dish that was physically in the salad bar and brought it to the table and started eating it. And everybody in the restaurant was looking and sort of like whispering, pointing, and the waiters and so, you're really not supposed to do that. But he finished it. That was the thing, because that's when you're doing, when you're bulking, right? He a mound of greens and salad, which was his whole dinner. He might have like a little piece of fish with it, but he just, and I don't know if he went back for more. They didn't want to invite him to all you can eat salad bars because he would go back 8 times.
Oh, Esther said so true.
And load up the plate. Was it? Yeah, Esther. I mean, if you think of any things, anything I'm getting wrong or leaving out, please, because I just remember that story, because that's the one thing you also learn about lettuce. Like, it's got no calories. You can eat as much.
The good part is, as a bodybuilder, he could lift all the stuff.
That's right. He could carry. I couldn't. The crap that I eat chocolate. I eat, snacks in the morning. I snack all day. I eat meat and things and ribs. Couldn't live without spare ribs.
I think Esther used to meet him after work at the gym a lot.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Esther is, by the way, I should have been a little more clear. Esther is my aunt on my mother's side. Sonny Brower was her husband. Her daughter is Deborah, who is now married to Bobby, and they have 2 kids, Alex and Joey. Okay, so that's a very happy, fun story I have about my uncle.
Any stories of him when you were little? Like,
that's right. Yeah, I'm gonna, because I was gonna save that for the end of the show, but I might as well get to them now, because you met him a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about Uncle, before I start? What do you remember about Uncle Sonny?
And in some way, it reminded me of my father, in the angular face, but I always remember the white hair. I didn't know him when he had hair color. I always had white hair.
I guess I guess he was rusty. I figure he was a redhead who went white pretty quickly. I don't quite remember. I do remember that I used to really, really enjoy staying with Esther and Sonny when, wow, I haven't used that appellation in 40 years. Esther and Sonny, man. Wow. But they had an apartment in New York.
Ooh.
And so we were living in the shit-ass part of Brooklyn, and then we moved to Long Island, which was okay. But when I was a kid, I could go to Manhattan, where they had an apartment, like a Neil Simon-y lifestyle, and go up there and stay with them overnight, and I get treated to food. And I just remember kind of walking around the New York apartment and feeling somehow different. And also, they had, in the very, very early stages, they had cable TV.
Oh, wow.
And they had HBO. And I remember, speaking of New York, they would show The Prisoner of Second Avenue with Jack Lemmon and Anne Bancroft. And because it was HBO and HBO just started, they would show it. And then 4 hours later, they'd show it again. And they'd show it again and again and again and again. And it just be, they'd leave the curse words in and there's no commercials. And I'd be like, wow, this is amazing. And I was too young to know that, at midnight, they'd be showing Robin Bird or whatever else they were showing. It was just like, oh, television is even different in New York. Whoa. But I just remember I had a fun time staying with them. It was kind of this vacation for me away from my mom and dad and away from Brooklyn or Long Island or school and all of it. It was a night away. It was like me going to a hotel when I was 7 or 9 or what have you. I also remember, and I will always be grateful for this, that I'm a fairly smart kid, certainly when it comes to English and languages and things like that. Not so much math, not so much science. And a couple of things I absolutely dreaded in science. I was sick the day that, and this was already going to like high school, and we had to give each other blood tests.
What?
Somehow I managed to get.
Blood test?
Yeah, that was the thing. We were gonna do like and put the blood under a microscope.
David, I think you went to Tuskegee.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, gotta stop that smoking. That's one thing that Sonny. Actually, no. I wonder if Sonny smoked.
I doubt he would smoke because it would mess up his.
It would mess up, but he would be the kind of guy who would, do everything right but smoke. That was.
My favorite stories. Esther. So he
Tell
and
me.
Sonny and Esther were like you and I in the sense that they like to go out to eat.
Mhm.
So they would look in the phone book and they would pick like when there was a printed phone book, something that had like script and the most fancy ad, and they would go. They like to.
I
like
love
to go
that.
To restaurants. Yeah.
Yes, that kind of lifestyle. And when you live in New York, you can do that. It's sort of like, ooh, open the phone book, find a fancy restaurant. Let's do up the town this week, But I remember when I was going to school to elementary. It was still elementary school, probably 6th or 7th grade science. So there was blood typed down. I was like,
Was your teacher
no.
Mengele?
I would literally put my forehead on the radiator and just leave it there for 5 minutes. And then, I don't know, Mom, I don't think I feel, and she let me stay home that day. Now, can you imagine with pandemics and communicable diseases? Do you think high schools still do that?
Can I tell you, so when I was at, our university, the one day I'm in Ross waiting for you, and all the kids are bringing urine cups in the bathroom. They're testing urine. Nobody was wearing gloves. So I stand out in the hallway and I'm like, the professor comes by and I'm like, let me just give you a bit of advice. When people handle bodily fluids, they should be gloved.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh God. I was like, yeah, no kidding.
I hope he wasn't pissed off.
He said to me, my cup runneth over.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. You're in the money. You're in the money. So anyway, but the other, yeah.
Oh, I said he did smoke.
That's what I seem to remember. He would, when he wasn't smoking, he was literally one of those guys who would carry a toothpick in his mouth. He was one of those toothpick people who could manipulate a toothpick with his teeth and almost turn it over like with his tongue and keep the toothpick there. But I guess that was keep him from smoking.
What about the time he was on that comedy show that he got on?
Oh, I'll get that's later on. One of the last times I ever saw him visually.
Yeah.
But no, but I want to tell the time that I was in 6th or probably 7th grade.
Oh, with the blood?
No, that's just saying one of the things that I cannot deal with in terms of
life, yeah.
School, in terms of life, right. But the other thing was, science fair. Science fair, because science fair was like, it wasn't necessarily about answering science questions, right? It was about building something at which I am incompetent. I remember back in real elementary school, real grade school, making like Noah's Ark. And all I did was take pieces of cardboard in 3-sided boxes and tape them together with Scotch tape and like make little paper animals in them. Look, Noah's Ark. There it is. Two of everything in these cardboard boxes. How cool. Wow.
Maybe you are spatially challenged, Boba.
I have no, forget mechanical engineering, drafting, completely useless. I can barely look at, if we're looking at houses to go live in, and they give you that view from above, and then it says, well, here's the layout of the house and the blueprint. I'm like, literally, I cannot envision. So so it's science fair time. And I don't know what the hell to do, but I knew already.
Not a volcano.
No, not the
my God.
volcano. No. But I knew already I was kind of interested in film,
Girls?
filmmaking. Well, no, I wasn't into girls back then. I don't think.
You still aren't.
And so, all right, and it
Want a
occurred.
drink?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
It occurred to me, and I guess maybe the teacher prompted it a little bit, knowing that I was getting interested in movies and TV and stuff like that. It's like, make a camera, make a pinhole camera. They've been doing it since
Wow.
1812, try making a camera. And I'm like, all right. But I knew that I had literally no dexterous skills to do that sort of thing, even though what the hell is a pinhole camera? It's a box with a hole and like a little piece of emulsion and lens on it. It's like, okay, I think I can do. I can freaking do it. I can get a box to stand together. So Uncle Sonny helped me a lot, to the point where he made sure that I was kind of involved in the process, but he did like 80% of it.
What did he do?
It was gluing. I think it wasn't just cardboard. It was like a nice, strong, sturdy. Might have been even like postboard, like very, very thin wood that we put together. You did a box, drilled a hole, put the thing. It was basically, you should have put Sonny's name on it with my name in little letters saying help.
In grammar school or even high school, it's very common for parents to help.
Even in high school?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I knew I was cheating in a certain way. I knew that he was doing more than he should have for me to, be part of this. I remember the teacher being very pleasantly surprised at how nice the thing looked and how well it was put together. And I was like, well, yeah, my Uncle Sonny helped me, and he did, right? And so I made it through that science, because the thing I could do was explain it, right? And that was, Sonny also made sure that I knew the mechanics, because, I never mentioned, he's a photographer. For many, many years of his life, that was his profession. And he was quite good at it. The picture we have of my grandfather that is still hanging in the living room, best picture he ever took, was taken by my Uncle Sonny. So Sonny knew cameras in and out, intimately, could probably put them together and take them apart. So certainly he could make a pinhole camera without so much as blinking. For me, I was like, I'll watch what you want. I'll hold this while you do with the glue and the thing. I'll just put my finger here. I'm doing it. I'm helping. Yeah. So that is like the one strongest, happiest memory that I have of Uncle Sonny. I remember people, we talked about this, that were blaming him because I had a foul mouth at a very young age. And because he was, a hipster and a cab driver and what have you, because, you don't make money as a photographer. So he drove a hack, and had a medallion, which he paid through the nose for before those went into the toilet. So, he always thought that, and he felt guilty that, and probably was made to feel guilty, that certain words would come out of my mouth, even though I would hear my dad say them, because dad has road rage. He'll go, somebody will cut him off on the road and he will go 0 to 60 and explode, And so I got it from there, and just being around the house. Mom never cursed. Dad cursed very, very rarely, but he would, So I may have heard Sonny use some words, but it's not as if suddenly I got those words from him.
I mean, many people use those words.
Yeah, back then, I don't know. I guess they do. Let me tell you about this. Totally off the cuff, totally off the subject, sort of. When I went in to grab a couple of slices of pizza for me and the missus for dinner this week, a couple of days ago, and I met the archetype of like the these dem those lower class blue collar workman guy, and he's in the pizza place. He doesn't have a mask, or he's got a mask, but it's like hidden, it's under his chin. He's on his cell or his walkie-talkie phone, and he's talking to the guy, and he's one of these people who has a naturally loud voice, so he's not even yelling. He's just got this deep gravelly, his regular voice is like this. And I swear to you, David Mamet, they would say it was a cliche that he was writing this. And he's talking about like oil pipes. I guess he worked for whatever took over from Leadwith 20 million years ago, the oil demand. And he's like, yeah, if you don't insulate one fucking pipe, the oil leaks out and then it goes, yeah, it's a terrible fucking problem. And, it's this tiny little pizza place.
It's about the size of a broom closet.
Yeah, literally. And he's taking up a whole lot more than one table just with his voice. and nobody's eating there because
he wants to be near him.
Right, well, and you can't eat inside really anyway. But I'm standing far away from him because the voice and I guess whatever else droplets are coming out of his mouth are going that way. And you can see the poor waitresses or they help prepare the food and take the orders and things. There's just nobody to wait on anymore. They're just behind the counter giving sideways glances, and he's just blithely on the phone and he's like, well, we call the guy and he fixes the fucking thing. Every sentence, sometimes 2 or 3 times a sentence. It was like I had to marvel. I wish I had a documentary camera and said, okay,
you do
here.
Call the cell phone.
But when people say that, or they watch theater, or they watch movies, or they watch a Mammoth thing, or they watch Eddie Murray, people don't really talk like that. People don't actually, they don't curse that way. It's just lazy writing. It's like, no, people fucking curse all the time, like this fucking guy. I'm making him a little more Italian than he was. No, he was. I think it was just like waspy, whatever. Like and like his face was. I don't know. It was the color of. Well, I don't have anything even quite like. It was the color of this manila envelope, sort of. It's like, But anywho, Sonny wasn't like that in any way. But he was, a little rough around the edges. But that's what made him different from all these. Steadily people in my family, even though Sonny was Jewish and raised that way. His real name was Max, I do believe. And what other stories? Because again, when he and my aunt got divorced and he didn't move away for a long time. He lived in the basement of her daughter and her husband's house, which was his house, right? So he,
that was his mother, I think his family's house. It was the family house.
So being young and what people do is like, oh yeah, let's push them in the basement.
God damn it. He had his own apartment.
I know, but it was a basement apartment,
But then he had privacy.
I know, he agreed to it. He was okay with it.
That house is not that big. They need to have privacy.
But you do things for the children. So he had one daughter, Deborah, lovely lady, and it's just like, okay, I want them to have a place to live and to raise kids and live on the island, and I'll live in the basement. What do I care? So he did for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And this one, which was kind of cool, is also that Deborah got to have, even though they were long divorced,
them, yeah.
she got to have both parents very near her, because one parent lived like a mile away, and another parent lived like downstairs for many, many years. And then Sonny ended up finding a girlfriend and moving down to Carolinas, and I think having quite a nice last 10 years or so. That's the happy ending. I don't know if there's more Sonny stories to tell. He what is that? The other irony is Sonny was one of these independent. If he were political, I would guess he'd be libertarian. He was that kind of person. But I just remember him railing against seatbelts.
Oh wow!
Years and years ago, he wore them because you had to. But why they're very uncomfortable. Remember, he was driving a cab 12 to 16 hours a day, sometimes double shifts just to make enough money to feed a family and so forth. But I just remember, well, what's a big deal? It's there to keep us. And he's like, well, the statistics say that sometimes it keeps you safe and sometimes it doesn't. And the irony being that his death a week ago, somebody smashed into him and they had to extricate him from the car. I don't know. He wouldn't have been thrown because he wasn't smashed from behind. It was right in from the driver's side. So I don't think the seatbelt made any actual difference in his life or death or his injuries. But I just find that struck me. I remember him being against seatbelts. And I'm a very nervous, safety-oriented kind of a guy. And I am surprised people don't have to wear helmets when they get into cars. I mean, how many brain injuries and neck injuries and things would be saved if we all put on like a good, strong motorcycle helmet just driving our Hyundais? I don't know. It sounds crazy. It's ridiculous, and nobody will want to do it. But it might save, 800 lives a year on the road. But we don't do it. Yeah, I see too many people not even wearing helmets when they're on bicycles.
Oh, you mean on the
Anywhere.
oh.
Anywhere. When we were in Colorado, people would just bike along, no helmet. I'm like, if I had a bicycle accident many, many years ago.
Oh.
If I wasn't wearing a helmet, I don't know what would have.
No, you
I
would
lost teeth.
Smashed your brain in. You lost teeth. Your eye was messed up. You would have probably.
My eye was fine.
No, your eye. It was your eye, your nose, and your conks.
Oh wow, yeah. So I got just on a bicycle, just taking a curb in the wrong way. I wasn't speeding or anything. I just went wham. But happily, it protected the old David. I'm also told this story, which has absolutely nothing to do with Sonny. Is that thank goodness I was wearing a bicycle helmet going to ride when the garage door came down on my head.
That was here.
Yeah, that happened.
Right here.
Was it in this house or were we in our other house alone?
It was in our other house, yeah.
And I was doing something.
You were trying to do some manly stuff.
Yeah, this is why this Jew should never do manly stuff. And I'm trying to get something from or to the garage, and the garage door just went bang. And as it happened, old Dave was wearing the old helmet, and that's why I'm talking to you today like this instead of like this. It's just a little bit. Really not so much difference in terms of content, but at least in the terms of delivery, I can still talk to you like this on Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We're going to dedicate this episode to the life and memory of my Uncle Sonny, who was killed a week ago at the age of 85 in Charleston, South Carolina. And police are investigating. Yeah, keep investigating. Explain to me, was the siren on? Now, my uncle, I don't even know if he was driving or his girlfriend was driving, honestly. So, and I don't know if he at 85 was demented or slightly demented or perfectly fine. I don't know how their hearing was. I know that I panic if I hear a siren in the far distance, when I'm driving now, because you can't go out of the house in this neighborhood without some Hatzalah ambulance coming down the fucking road. I mean, it's just 20 times, 500 times a day, because there's a zillion old people. And they're all scared of COVID, and they're all dying of something, and they all have to get to the hospital or be resuscitated. And so, and until it isn't really sometimes until the ambulance comes upon you from a couple of 100 feet away that you know where it's coming from. You just kind of hear it. You're driving, you're in your own head. You may not have the windows open because it's cold. You might have a radio on or something. So, and by the time you are compos mentis and trying to figure out, well, where is it? So do I just try and pull over, or is it behind me and going in a whole opposite direction, perpendicular? And it's awful. These goddamn emergency vehicles and sirens and things. I'm not talking about like a giant fire engine that you really hear, but sometimes these stupid little ambulances and these regular cop cars, you don't know until, and then suddenly it's like, pull over or don't pull over or go to the right. And if you try going to the right, the guy behind you doesn't know you're going to. It's just, so I don't know what really went on in the Carolinas. And of course, I don't know if there were any witnesses or whether the police, the sheriff who was hospitalized with completely non-threatening injuries, so he'll be fine, right? Love to hear his story. Love to kind of know.
Dr. Sue said we need better services, transportation. She said her elderly mom was crippled while driving. She shouldn't have been driving. That's Dr. Sue. Yeah, I'm not saying, I don't know, honestly, if maybe my uncle was in some way at fault. No, or if he didn't hear the siren and kept going into the left turn. When David with the head on, no. Head on is usually the
sheriff.
When you're rear-ended, it's not your fault when you.
Well, if you're rear-ended, you've had a good Saturday night. If you know what I'm saying. Thank you.
Usually, if somebody is going that fast and hits you, it's really not.
It's,
your fault,
yeah, so that's why
It's
this
pretty
guy
obvious, yeah.
is going to be on administrative leave when he gets out of the hospital. But let's hear his story. Let's see if he has a body, as one of those body cams or a car.
They should have, but
Yeah.
I think the police cars are equipped with cameras.
So I'm going to kind of reserve judgment and not say I hope that sheriff dies.
Oh God.
But he killed 2 people, including my uncle. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, if all the world can go crazy this week, so can I.
It's just completely a tragedy. It's horrific.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be an accident. We're not talking about like a cop stepping on a black man's neck for 10 minutes. This is, even at its worst thing, it's an accident, but is there negligence involved on either side? Okay, I'm just curious. Anyway, I haven't told you. So I know I mentioned we're dedicating this episode to my Uncle Sonny, but I do want to say that this episode is called Got Woody? Okay, little dirty little play on words there, because, and I'm very excited about this, we have a guest in the Daverhood too. I told you all the things that are going to be on the show: Greeley Crimes and Old Times, Inside Broadway, Colorado Limerick, the trivia quiz, so much cool things. But we also have a veteran theater director, producer, theater owner, also directed a film or 2. Guy's name is Woodie King Jr., and he founded the New Federal Theater, which is about to have its 50th anniversary in New York. It's not the anniversary they were hoping for in terms of theater in New York, but they're going to do it virtually on January 17th with lots of people who were helped and brought up in this off-Broadway theater in New York, kind of paying their tributes and saying hi. So let me tell you about some of the people who came through this theater company, through this building and this place. The playwright Entezaki Shange, who did, I'm probably mispronouncing her name, For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. She wrote that, the choreo poem. Charles Fuller, who wrote A Soldier's Story. Ed Bullins, actors like Felicia Rashad, Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson, the late Chadwick Boseman, Debbie Allen, and of course, this guy. He did direct 1 Broadway show, did Woodie King Jr., and it featured a fellow named Denzel. So yeah, Woodie King Jr., he won. I'm giving away all his stuff that his interviewer, Rabbi Sal Solomon, will mention in just a few minutes. But yeah, talk about a life.
It's bothering me that I can't invite people on the watch party, so I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. It's Facebook. It's doing whatever it's doing. Yeah.
Maybe for the new year they changed it.
Yeah. Well, maybe I don't know. I don't know how to get.
I'm talking to Dr. Sue and Esther on your general one.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah. Whoever wants to, if you're in the, but you have a watch party open. That is your watch party, right?
But I don't know why I can't see who's in it. I can't invite people.
Well, feel free, if you're watching on Joyce's watch party, to chime in and write in and ask questions and things like that. We'd love to hear from you. I also love to hear from you all week long at my email address, davesgoneby@aol.com, DAVESGONEBY, davesgoneby@aol.com. I try and read every email that I get. I try to answer as many as I can. Plus, you can feel free to post your messages right here on my page, either to message me directly if you're a friend, or you can certainly just post underneath the show or on my page. And it's, of course, the Dave's Gone By Facebook page. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell them, hey, we've got Woodie King Jr. coming on the show in just a few minutes. If you care about New York theater and you miss New York theater, or you care about, race in the theater and BIPOC and all that's going on. This guy founded a theater 50 years ago to give women and people of color more of a voice in New York theater. It was a big thing back then. It's a big thing now.
He said that he was like incubator for a lot of big, names and people, like supported a lot of young talent at the time.
Yeah, and still was up until 10 months ago. So anyway, so that's really exciting for us.
Interesting to see if he went digital, like what he did,
Yeah, well, I think they were doing some readings back in October, like everybody else. I mean, readings like online, kind of, virtual readings, if you will. So let's, I don't know, we got about 10 minutes before our guest joins us.
So bothering me, this watch party thing, just FYI.
I don't think that's enough time to, so a lot of, maybe we can do the Inside Broadway segment. It's, yeah, I'll do it real quick. So before we get to all that, and we'll do Greeley Crimes and Old Times after the interview, I want to talk about the theater, since we're bringing on Woodie King Jr., and give you a little bit of Broadway news as we go inside Broadway. I repeat, as we go inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Well, you must know, if you watch this show or you're all tuned into New York culture, you know that Broadway's been closed since March and is remaining closed until the end of May at the very earliest. Nothing's changed in that, but we did have one piece of big, unfortunate news that happened this week, and that, so when Broadway did close down on March 12th of what is now last year, there were a bunch of shows that were playing, and there were some shows that were waiting to open. And most of them really, really wanted to hang on and to say, okay, it was going to be a half a year, a year and a half. We'll hold the company together as best we can. We might have to recast a bit. We're going to raise some more money. The producers do, but we, you know, when Broadway comes back, we'll be ready to play. But not every show was willing or able to do that. And so we knew early on, back in the beginning of the pandemic, that that some shows were going to go away, like Disney's Frozen closed and said, no, we're not going to reopen. They were going to do a revival of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and that never got to open. And then there was a Martin McDonagh play called Hangman that was just about to open, didn't get to open. But everything else was sort of on the landing dock, you know. However, kind of surprising on this one, but the musical Mean Girls, which did open, it opened on April 8th, 2018. So it ran for a year. It was a hit. It recouped its $17 million investment. It was a popular show. It was nominated for 12 Tony Awards, even though it didn't win any of them. And it closed on March 11th at the August Wilson Theater with intentions of reopening. But just yesterday, the producer said, no, forget it. We're not going to do it. Not going to be able to raise the money, not going to get the advertising to get people back in, because so many people who wanted to see it saw it when it opened. It ran for a year or more before it closed in 2020, almost 2 years. So, no. So Mean Girls has officially ended after 29 previews and 804 regular performances at the August Wilson Theater. It's a musical, of course, based on the film. Tina Fey did the book for the musical. Her husband, Jeff Richmond, wrote the music. Lyrics are by Nell Benjamin, directed and choreographed by Casey Nicholaw. I saw it. I didn't like it very much. I thought it was much of a muchness. It wasn't funny the way I wanted it to be. I didn't find the music memorable. I'm not going to miss it. I just think it's bad news in terms of, oh, great, here's a show that's not, you know, another thing that's not going to be happening when Broadway can get its act together post-pandemic. And then real sad news from the off-Broadway world. In fact, I think our guest, Woodie King Jr., probably knew and even worked with this man. A fellow named Lee Brewer died at the age of 83. He died last Sunday. Lee Brewer was a founding co-artistic director of the great avant-garde-ish off-Broadway troupe Mabou Mines. So he did a ton of shows for that company. They were playing at the Public Theater and downtown at La Mama. Finally, he made it uptown with a popular show called The Gospel at Colonists which started at Brooklyn Academy of Music, and then in 1988 moved to Broadway's Lunchfontaine Theater, featuring Morgan Freeman. It's a gospel version of Oedipus Rex. It got nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Of all things, I wouldn't be surprised, considering the BIPOC nature of what they're trying to do with theater now. That would sound like a show that should be revived, The Gospel at Colonists. But I never got to see it. But I'll tell you one thing, I think there's video of it on YouTube. The one thing that I did see that Mabou Mines did was an adaptation of Peter Pan called Peter and Wendy, which was one of the most moving, beautiful things I have ever seen in the theater. I probably, the public library up on 65th Street has video of this. I wish I could tune in that on Broadway HD or Netflix, because it was magnificent. It was a one-woman show with Karen Kandel playing all the characters and all the creatures and the narrator and puppets all around her. It was magnificent. No, I'm telling you, they were Bunraku style.
Esther said, thank you, David, for the great memories.
So.
Esther.
Oh, Esther. Well, thank you. Esther, if you have more, ask Esther if she wants to come on later in the show.
She's doing that. I don't think she.
Oh, just asking. But anyway, Mabou Mines also did an adaptation of A Doll's House called Mabou Mines Dollhouse, because they were sort of like Wooster Group. They deconstructed. The Warrior Ant was also a popular thing that Lee Brewer was involved in with Mabou Mines. So farewell to Lee Brewer, who passed away. And then, you want some more bad? Here's some more fun news. Well, our friend of the Daverhood, James Morgan, is the artistic director and also the designer of shows at the beloved York Theatre Company off-Broadway. They do musicals, generally revivals of old musicals and lesser known musicals, but they've been around for a couple of decades now. They've been somewhat quiet. I mean, they've been doing stuff online, but quiet since the pandemic. And what happened? They had a water main break last week, leaving up to 2 feet of water in the basement of the building that they're in. They're in St. Peter's Church over on Lexington Avenue and I think 54th Street, 56th Street, big old, lovely church there. And so the church, bless their hearts, literally and figuratively, gave the York Theater the basement theater space to use.
Do they have to rent it, or they just gave it?
I'm sure maybe they have a wink agreement where York pays a certain amount, but not what they would remotely pay for an actual space of their own. So, but what happens? 2 feet of water. Just amazingly enough, it seems to have left their new seats intact. So they just bought new seats like a year ago.
Well, the seats are higher than 2 feet.
Right, yeah, but
your seats are 2 feet from the floor, less than 2 feet from the floor. That's a children's theater.
Well, it's true. So the seats are okay, but the ceiling, the walls, the mold, the equipment, the stage.
In the East Coast, that's mold.
And bless his heart. Also, I keep saying that phrase, but Jim Morgan says, we're not going to let this kill us. We've been through stuff. We know there's a pandemic. We'll get the money. We'll come back. The York Theater will be doing theater when this pandemic is over, and we'll figure out how to get through this too. Flood, disease, famine, throw some more plagues. By the way, this segment of Dave's Gone By, which is called Inside Broadway, is partially brought to you by this wonderful journal, Performing Arts Insider, which has been the Bible of Broadway since 1944. This is where people in the entertainment industry turn to find out everything about all the shows on, off, and off Broadway. So if you're thinking about what happens in June when Broadway supposedly is supposed to reopen, go to performingartsinsider.com to find out how you can subscribe to this incredibly valuable magazine, the Bible of Broadway. Got a couple more items in Inside Broadway before we bring in our guest, Woodie King Jr. to the Daverhood. Sad news, it's just sad news all around. Director Joan Micklin Silver has passed away. She died on New Year's Day at the age of 85. You've seen her movies. If you didn't see Hester Street, you certainly saw Crossing Delancey. She directed that. Off-Broadway, though, and the reason we're bringing this up now, she co-conceived and co-directed My Name is Alice, very popular review show. And I didn't realize this. She also conceived the Randy Newman-based review and directed it, Maybe I'm Doing It Wrong. I remember seeing that because we had like TKTS tickets long before I became a critic. I was just a big Randy Newman fan, and my dad, and I think mom too, we all went to the theater that night to see it. Well, she directed it. She told the New York Times years ago that her favorite aspect of directing Crossing Delancey was, quote, I had final cut.
Esther's going to share a funny story, but not now.
But yeah, no, because I got to bring the guest in like 2 minutes. But she had all sorts of trouble with another movie that she did called Chilly Scenes of Winter that was renamed by the studio head over heels, and they marketed it wrong and it flopped, and then she wanted to cut. So when she says Crossing Delancey, I got final cut, that's exactly what she meant. And speaking of, terrible segue here, but speaking of people getting cut, farewell to actress Marion Ramsey, 73 years old. She died on Thursday the 7th, 2 days ago, after a short illness. You would know her. She was the Officer Hooks in the Police Academy movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She was on Cos, one of the Bill Cosby shows when he was still allowed on television. Born in Philadelphia, she had a long career on Broadway. She started as a replacement Ermengarde in the original Hello, Dolly. And then she had no Broadway luck, though. I mean, flop after flop. There was a 2-night flop called Soon in 1970 that had Peter Allen and Richard Gere in the cast.
That was the closing date.
Yeah, the closing date. When? Soon. This show didn't even open. In 1973, there was a Paul Jabara movie, a musical called Rachel Lily Rosenblum, and Don't You Ever Forget It.
That sounds like a real winner.
It didn't even open. It died in previews. It also featured our friend of the Daverhood, Andre de Shields. She was in the almost hit musical Eubie, tribute to Eubie Blake in 1979. She was in Rock and Roll, The First 5,000 Years, the 1985 critically acclaimed flop, Grind, and then her last Broadway show was Uptown, It's Hot, which ran 2 weeks and I guess wasn't. But anyway, a big farewell to Marion Ramsey from the Daverhood and from inside Broadway. Let's actually hear a little bit of her singing a tune that you will all know, and then we will be on with Woodie King Jr. and Rabbi Saul Solomon.
I'm going to do this song a cappella because I don't have a track for it, and I sing it a little differently than the way everybody else sings it. So if you'll help me out maybe at one point in the song and sing along. It's a song that you all know, and so I'd like to dedicate this to the cause. Thank you. It must have been cold there in my shadow. To never have sunlight on your face. You always stay a step behind. Oh, and you always make me shine. I was the one with all the glory.
Hello.
But you were the one with all the strength. Yes, you were. A beautiful face without a name. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Oh, did you ever know that you're my hero?
Oh, I have been told that so many times that I am people's heroes. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a real, actual theater hero with us in the Daverhood. By the way, I am Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am delighted and thrilled to be talking to this man who 50 years ago founded an off-Broadway theater called the New Federal Theater in order to give women and people of color a chance to do theater. He's tapping on his cell phone as we speak. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about this man. This theater that he founded has brought out works by Ntozake Shange, Charles Fuller, Ed Bullins, as well as actors like Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson, Debbie Allen, Felicia Rashad, Chadwick Boseman, and Denzel Washington, who, by the way, Woodie King Jr. directed on Broadway in a cute comedy called Checkmates. As a director, this man has worked at Atlanta's Alliance Theater, Washington, D.C.'s Arena Stage, Cleveland Playhouse, Indiana Repertory, Chiba in upstate New York, the Northlight Theater in Chicago, and he has won an Obie Award all the way back in 1997. They already gave him an Obie for sustained achievement. Plus, he is a member of the American Theater Hall of Fame. So if you go to the Gershwin, not that anybody's going to the Gershwin Theater at the moment, but if you did, you would see his name on the wall. Won't you please welcome to the Daverhood and a big shalom to you, Woodie King Jr. Shalom, Woodie. How are you?
Okay, Dave. Okay.
I'm actually, this is Rabbi Saul Solomon. Dave is the producer of the program.
Okay. Well, he's the one who sent me the all the information.
Oh, good. Well, so you can even call me Brother Saul. So,
Okay, Brother Saul.
We bond that way. This is good. So first of all, how are you? Are you healthy? Are those around you healthy in these crazy times?
I'm as healthy as can be. I am healthy, I am wealthy, and I'm wise, I think.
You got wealthy from directing one show on Broadway. How did you get wealthy doing off-Broadway theater? Or are you just joking?
I'm joking.
Oh, yes, New York.
Metaphysical.
You're metaphysically what? You're wealthy in all the things that count.
Yes.
Soul and spirit. So
Yeah.
tell me, and how are things? First of all, I heard Dave mention before that you in October your theater company did a couple of readings online just to keep things going, just to remind people, hey, we're existing during a pandemic. What is New Federal Theater up to, either during COVID or planning for late 2021 into 2022?
Since the COVID, we've been doing readings. We've been doing virtual plays. We did plays in October, 5 plays by major American writers doing Black History Month. This year, we're going to do a revival of When Chickens Came Home to Roost about Malcolm X and the meeting between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. We're going to do that. And during Women's History Month, we're going to do Hospice by Pearl Clegg and Black Girl by J.E. Franklin. So we are busy during the pandemic. We are programming. We are trying to raise money to keep our theater above the ground. Our 50th anniversary, which I am here to talk about, is good. It's on schedule. That's being directed by Dean Irby, and we have 9 people who are getting awards from the theater. It's all virtual. And those 9 people are Felicia Rashad, Glenn Turman, Douglas Turner Ward, Beth Turner, Ron Himes. Okay, people like that.
Am I getting an award? Do you have anything set aside for me, like a little statuette? No.
Yeah, we're gonna give them a plaque.
There you go. Because I've had plaque here, and the dentist can't get that out.
No, not that kind of plaque.
My fault.
Yeah.
So how is, we have a question already from the gallery here of how is it, have you directed some of these readings, or are other people directing it?
No, I get other people to direct the readings.
Oh, all right.
I give African Americans and women an opportunity to direct readings. For the first 25 years of our theater, we were located in Henry Street Settlement on the Lower East Side. And down there, we have a different population. So we deal with different people and the problems within the play.
Well, where did you move after the Henry Streets? Are you in Castillo, or where did you guys go?
We're in Castillo now. We've been there since for 5 years.
Oh, okay, great. And
Because
Castillo is
after the Henry Street settlement, we moved across the street and around the corner to St. Augustine's Church and the theater in that church. And we were there for many, many years. But now we are at Castillo on 42nd Street, West 42nd Street.
Now, let me ask you a question, because we know that, pardon me, the phlegm, that the Broadway theaters, they're not even thinking of opening until June. Meanwhile, you got a lot of these off-Broadway theaters that are banding together to sue New York State just to say, we can open. We don't have to be full, because we're grant driven. We can have 30 people in the house and be distanced and open safely. Why won't you let us do what we do? Where do you stand on that?
I don't stand on that at all. I think it's a mistake.
Okay.
I think it's a mistake. I think they should do it virtual and during the pandemic. I mean, we should not take chances on people's lives. If they say do not gather, we should not gather. It's like the restaurants are facing the same thing. Anytime you go in a restaurant and you can't sit down and eat, they must be facing the same thing. And they are much, much, much smaller.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree on that score, but also they would say, well, then how come you can walk into a Target or a supermarket and be surrounded by people with masks, and then that's okay?
But you gotta go out, you gotta take it out and get out of there.
Yeah, but you can walk around the supermarket for an hour, nobody's gonna throw you out, and the aisles are like this. So they're passing somebody with a fat tuchus, and they're there and they're bending. It's like, hello.
I don't go to Target. I order from Amazon. I order online.
Well, I have another question from the gallery. What? Well, this is the question that we're going to get to in the initial stages of founding and funding the new federal theater. I mean, what was it? You had an idea. You wanted to give people a chance who weren't getting a chance to be heard on or whatever was off Broadway back then. So how did it all come together? How did it start 50 years ago?
I was running a youth program and mobilization for youth. And the director of mobilization for youth moved to Henry Street settlement. And he asked me to come there with him. And by coming there with him, he said, we will give you the theater to work with, and we will give you a bookkeeper, an accountant, and fiscal services. Okay. And so I went there, and then I named the theater the new Federal Theater after the old Federal Theater under the Roosevelt administration.
Right. The work's progress.
That was 1935 to 1939. It flourished very well, and they did unbelievable, visible work with a unit called the Negro unit. And so in that Negro unit, our first couple of years, I would try and do one play from that unit and revive them at Henry Street. And they proved to be very popular. And the new Federal Theater won a lot of awards because we had a lot of critics from the Times. Village Voice was operating then, The Villager, and a lot of newspapers on the Lower East Side, operated. So that's how we came to be. And we got our first federal state money. The state money came from the New York State Council on the Arts because Vinette Carroll, the late Vinette Carroll was the head of something called the Ghetto Arts Program. And they gave us money. And thereafter, I don't want to say he's a friend, but he became a friend at the Rockefeller Foundation. Howard Klein.
It's good to have a Jew and a Rockefeller. You're set. You have a Jew in your corner, you're good. There you go.
Always been in my corner.
Yeah. Can I ask you, especially in those early years, did you ever have to deal with terrible racial issues or problems from white, or they just left you, you know, you had a theater, you were doing your thing, no problems?
Yeah, I had problems. Yeah, problems now even getting money.
Oh, well,
You have problems getting money from major funders because now they're all white controlled. All the funders, whether you go to you know, local, nationally, or international, they are white controlled, and they need long explanations. If you're doing a play on Harriet Tubman, they need 2 hours explanation. If you're doing a play on W.B. Du Bois, they need a play. If you're doing a play after Crystal Night, you know, they need explanations because they don't know. They are of a younger generation. They don't know. And if you sit there as a Black guy, wow, what is that? What the first thing? What is that about?
Wow. Yeah, well, all right, I have to admit, W.E.B. Du Bois is not necessarily as known as Malcolm X.
No, that's not
Or
true.
as that. Well, it is true within the common,
In
you know,
sociology.
non-Black circles. I mean, everybody knows who Martin Luther King and Malcolm X
Yeah,
was.
if you're running a theater,
Yes.
if you're running a theater and you get a brilliant play about Malcolm X, then why should, if I tell the funder, I want to do this play, and this is the play, I give you a copy of it, they don't want to read the play. They want a proposal indicating the length of the play, and almost, the proposal is almost the size of the play.
And a projected how many audience members, how much will they pay to get in? Are you going to sell snacks? I mean, it's going to be all about this peripheral stuff that a funder wants to know, well, you know, what are they going to do with my money? But what I don't
It's
understand.
not their money.
What?
It is not the funder's money. It is the people sitting behind the desk. Rockefeller willed the money 75, 80 years ago.
But what I don't understand is you have a theater company. So don't you as a company just go like that and say, here's what we do. We put on plays about the Black and female experience, as opposed to individual plays where you have to explain, oh, we're doing this one this year. I would figure as a theater company, you're just going for grants based on that rather than individual works. No?
No, it's about the individual works.
Huh. So in other words, if you had a play about Harriet Tubman come in, you would specifically target grants that would fund things like stuff about Harriet Tubman.
Yes.
That is how it works. All right.
Yeah, that's how it works now in 2021, 2020.
In 50 years, in the 50 years you've been running it, were there ever times when you thought we're 1 month away from our last ability to do anything? You know, money's run out, we're in terrible trouble, unless we get an angel funder, investor, we're dead in the water, and then you pulled out of it.
No, I've never been there.
Great.
I've been close, but never that close.
Good.
I was always, I'm in a position, so as the producing director of New Federal Theater, I have a great executive director and new artistic director. So it's not that crucial now. It might have been 25, 30 years ago, but we were doing 7 or 8 plays 25 years ago. All the theaters on the Lower East Side that did plays were going to be razed or demolished or what have you, and they would come to me and say, you can have it for a year while we think about it. And we would get it for little or nothing, just cleaning it up, and have a cleaning crew come in and make it presentable and paint it.
Instead of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent, you had a space where you could do a show for 4 or 6 weeks.
Yes.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, because people would come to you as an example of saying, you know, how do you keep a theater going for 50? So many theaters don't. They last 20, 30 young people. They come in there, they're excited about doing theater, but then they get jobs in Hollywood or they start falling out with each other.
That's true.
It goes away.
That's
but
true.
yours still hangs together, which is amazing.
That's true. I don't know if you remember a theater company called the American Jewish Theater.
Of course, Stanley
Run by-
Brechner. Yeah.
Stanley Brechner. He worked with me for years.
So what is different about your theater that both the American Jewish Theater and Jewish Repertory Theater both could not continue?
Well, when Stanley left, there's nobody with that energy, that urgency. You gotta get replacements with energy and with urgency and the need to tell the story.
Now, I know but how old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
83.
You're 83. God willing, you should live to 123.
Yeah, I will be retiring June 30th.
Whoa.
Oh, so this new artistic director, what's the person's name you mentioned?
Elizabeth Van Dyke.
Something Van Dyke, I missed it.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Van Dyke, all right. So is she?
No, I'll still be on the board.
Yeah.
I will remain on the board.
But do you have confidence that once you step away, once you retire, the energy, et cetera, will be there to keep New Federal?
Yeah, yes.
Well,
Jonathan Slaff knows her well. Your friend. You know Jonathan Slaff, right?
Jonathan, well, yes, he's a press agent and
Yeah.
wonderful guy. Yeah.
He's our press agent.
Yes. Yeah. He's a terrific. He actually did some work for me when I was doing my off-Broadway show.
When was that? What did you do off?
Oh, it was a work of genius. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. It's called Shalom, Damn It, an evening with Rabbi Sal Solomon. And we did it at a place called the Richmond Shepherd Theater, which no longer exists, and the Roy Arias Theater, which
No, the Roy Arias.
Yeah, well, he's retired in like the Dominican Republic or something now, but somebody else owns that theater. Look, if you ever need a Jew doing theater in your theater, I'll bring my show back tomorrow. I'll do it in front of nobody, just empty seats. I'll just do it because I miss doing it. Oh, I love that show. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Okay.
Which actually brings up a thing, because you can watch a version of my show that they taped at the Richmond Shepherd Theater, which, speaking of the Lower East Side, and you can watch it on YouTube. Just look for me, look for Shalom, Damn It. What about shows that were done over the years at New Federal? What kind of, because when I actually saw you being interviewed on a documentary about Win Handman of the American Place Theater, and they have a little bit of archival footage of shows that were done at the American Place over the years. Is there an archive? Is there a repository of video of shows from 70s, 80s, 90s at New Federal?
It might be an archive, but I've turned them over to the Detroit Public Library and the New York Public Library.
Yeah. So people can go to up on 65th and see, these plays.
They can't see them, they can read them, and they can read the reviews.
But did you tape any?
No, they weren't taped back then.
Are you doing it now? Are you doing it in the last 10, 15, 20 years?
I put the link to the New Federal.
No, we don't tape. I've done films on Black theater in America. They can see that.
Right.
Films I did away from the job. They can see a documentary on me, King of Stage. They can do those kind of documentaries that other people did on me. But
King of Stage, I did not know about that. I want to see that now. Absolutely. Because in this pandemic, all I've been doing is going to Broadway HD and YouTube and then watching, like the Mint Theater, the off-Broadway theater, the Mint. They tape.
Yeah, I know the Mint.
Yeah, well, they tape their stuff, and you can go and you can watch productions that closed. Before they were done 2, 5, whatever years ago, and they're there, and you can watch and enjoy the production that was done. I kind of recommend, since you don't have to deal with that many unions.
Yeah, well, see, the unions won't let us tape stuff like that, except during the pandemic. You have to pay a great deal of money to tape, because it's a film to them. It's and we use all union members.
Wait, are you off or off-Broadway?
Off-Broadway.
What, single off, not off. You're off, Broadway. So yeah, there are a ton of them. So you're in 99, 101 seat. How many seats are in?
99 or less for us because we're on 42nd Street.
So you can be technical. Well, 99 means off-Broadway. 98 would be off. So am I right about that? Am I
No,
told?
no, no, you're not right.
Oh, what happened with that? That used to be the rule.
No, no, no. Equity is actors, and
Yeah.
they set up the rules. You could be in a 70-seat theater and be paying a great deal of money for actors, and
Really?
more if it's taped.
Well,
Or-
so do you pay, and you pay your act. You are then an equity house. Everybody gets paid, I guess.
Yes, pension and welfare and salaries.
Huh. I think that makes it even more amazing that you guys have lasted 50 years, because other places, they don't pay the actors. They have to pay the designer a little bit and the work crews and things like that. And they got to pay for insurance, but at least they don't have to pay the actors every week. You guys do, which
Yes,
is,
yes, and take out taxes, and they get unemployment, all of that.
what are one or two of the plays that you either liked the best or are most proud of in your overseeing tenure at New Federal?
Well, I love For Colored Girls Who've Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough.
I love them
I
too.
love-
But not the play. No, just kidding there.
I loved, a year and a half ago, we did a play, Looking for Leroy. I love that. And
Wow.
the award-winning plays was Black Girl, won a Drama Desk Award. Ed Bullins, The Taking of Miss Janie, won the Drama Critics Circle Award.
But that's pride in an external thing. That's, oh, it was good, so the critics liked it. I'm saying what shows really connected to you.
I'm saying I don't do them if they don't connect with me.
That's fair. All right.
If they don't connect, I don't do them. You know?
Let me ask, when you were first learning the ropes, because I think I read you're a draftsman, so that really helped you, design and do and build and things like that. But you were also taught theater stuff by the likes of Helen Hayes and Vincent Price. Is this true? Did you?
Yeah, I went to Willoway School of Theater in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan.
Tell me some memories of Michigan and of learning from those people.
Okay, well, the theater was run by a very aged lady named Teresa Way Merrill and her daughter, and they ran this theater called Willoway School of Theater. And Teresa Way Merrill worked with Jesse Bonstell, and his name was very famous in this old theater hierarchy. And so I got a scholarship. But being African-American, you could do monologues, you could do epilogues and all of that, but you could not act on stage with white women. And so they would critique me in a monologue. So they would come in for each person would come in back in those days, 1 to 3 weeks, and they would work with you. And that was it. They didn't all come in at the same time. Basil Rathbone, the late Basil Rathbone.
Wow. So do you remember any advice you got as a performer from Basil Rathbone, from Helen Hayes, from Vincent Price, any of them?
Yeah, well, the best advice I got was from the late Harold Clurman.
Yeah. Speaking of off-Broadway, yeah.
No, he was Broadway. He taught at the
theater named
studio.
after him was on Theater Row.
Harold Clurman. That's the name of the theater, named after him.
Right.
But back then, it was him. He said, come to New York and look me up. He introduced me to Wynn Handman at the American Plays Theater, And so coming in from Detroit, I didn't graduate Wayne State University. I graduated Lehman College and Brooklyn College. And I got 4 or 5 honorary doctorates. So it's a different kind of experience. And so Harold Clurman and I, when he went to see a play off-Broadway or on Broadway, he would invite me along.
Wonderful. I mean, and by the way, speaking of name dropping, someone that you, I guess, would have considered a friend was the writer Langston Hughes.
Yes.
Do you have any memories, any thoughts about him?
Yeah, I'm published in his book of short stories. And he was one wonderful. He was absolutely, you couldn't tell when he was joking or when he was for real. But what you remember is when he smoked, the ashes did not fall off of his cigarette.
He just had that special way. Yeah.
That's what you can remember. He could smoke a cigarette down halfway and the ashes would still be there on the end. I don't know how that happened.
Now, let me also ask you one of the things that you were able to do, because it's like, okay, there's funding and they gave you a space to work, and then in fact you came out of the youth thing, but these things eat up money. Theater just devours money. And one of the ways that you were able to fund your theater was by doing a lot of TV commercials.
Yes.
And there's a funny way you talked about doing TV. There was something you discovered about how to do them, and you got hired to do a whole bunch of them. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience and just your special way of understanding what a TV commercial is and what it wants from you?
I don't know what you mean. I didn't put my money into the theater. I didn't put my dollars. I put my time. I put time in it and didn't get paid, but I didn't put money in. If I did a commercial, that went into my bank account.
So that allowed you to run a theater without being paid by the theater thing. I'm sorry, I thought you also, you kind of funded or self-funded a little bit of it. I guess you didn't, which is wonderful.
I from Willoway, I learned to get a board of directors early.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to listen to them. And I learned to work with people who had vast amounts of experience. The reading of the plays I did myself, the finding the director and finding the actors, because you understand, in 1970, African Americans in theater they had proliferated and there was no place to work. So I was one of the 3 or 4 theaters there.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I guess Negro Ensemble was at that point.
Yes,
there.
Negro Ensemble.
And La Mama wasn't particularly Black. It was just La Mama. It was everything. It was experimental.
Yeah.
Who else was there? What other
Roger
theaters?
Furman.
Okay.
The Roger Furman.
Roger Furman.
Theater.
Okay. Uh-huh.
The Black Arts Repertory Theater in Harlem. The National Black Theater in Harlem.
Well, they're still there. They're
Yes.
still around. Yay
Yeah.
on that. Cool. But I was also asking about the commercial thing because you had some advice for people. Maybe you forgot, or maybe I read it wrong or something. But there was a certain thing in 30 seconds. You broke it down as to what a director of a commercial looks for.
Yeah.
So can you? It was just fun the way you broke it down. Where I read it or saw it or something.
Well, you sell personality, a 30 seconds commercial. You sell personality, yourself. You sell the product for 30 seconds. And nowadays, you sell yourself, you sell the product, and you sell the environment. It's harder now.
What do you mean by the environment?
Well, let's say you're doing a Charmin.
Oh, I do it every morning, several times. Yes.
Well, you got to show where you are. The camera got to show where you are. And if you're in the backyard.
With Charmin, that's a little, all right, yeah.
Oh, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. You can be in the backyard with some Charmin towels, washing your hands, and then you sell. That's the environment.
Oh, all right. Okay. It's just, I like the idea that you have 30 seconds. That first 12 is about who you are.
Yeah.
And then the next 10 or something, or 8 is about the product. And then there's something you broke it. I just found it kind of fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Now we talk a lot about. I have been talking a lot about your.
Harold Clurman taught me that.
Who did?
Harold Clurman.
Harold Clurman.
He did.
Well, speaking of moving away from theater for just a minute, because you have directed a film or two. You directed a documentary about Malcolm X. And I'm
Yes.
wondering, in doing that and researching that, what were things that surprised you about Malcolm X?
Okay, you gotta understand, I grew up when Malcolm X was alive and moving about. I was living in New York when Malcolm X was shot at the Audubon Ballroom. I was, so it's not foreign to me. It was the difficult thing about finding a Malcolm X, someone to play Malcolm X. And we got Morgan Freeman. That was before he was famous. And the difficult part is he would not cut his hair.
Was he doing the electric company at that point? I mean, he just, what, you have like braids at that point, or just a fro? What did he have?
A Marcel head.
Oh, he had the like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just refused to. All right.
He refused.
What did you do? You went with it. You just say, okay, this will be Malcolm X with Marcel hair.
I did not call it Malcolm X. I call it prophet minister. So everybody knew what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
It was not. It was a prototype of Malcolm X.
I'm kind of curious, since we're delving into this a little bit, where do your sympathies more lie as a person, as a person of color? Are you more of a Malcolm guy or a Martin Luther King guy, or it's not fair to, you're both?
I'm both.
Okay.
I'm
Could
both.
one have existed without the other?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know, I believe some of the things that each one of them said, but I read it and find out myself.
This is the way
My
you
own
go.
research, huh?
Your research.
I've always done my own research.
So let me ask you a question, probably the darkest question of this interview, because I go dark, I go deep. I'm that kind of guy. But one of the things that bothers me personally, for obvious reasons, is the wave, if you will, of Black anti-Semitism. It's there. It's, whether Ice Cube is putting up stuff in Twitter, or you've got these basketball and football players who are saying these things. And quite honestly, I have to say, you were friends with Leroy Jones or Amiri Baraka,
Yeah.
who towards the end of his life, start writing poems about how Jews were celebrating on 9/11. Which was a little bit of horseshit. So let me ask you, what's up with that? What is the schism? What
You would
happened?
have to tell me the poems he wrote where Jews were celebrating, Jews were celebrating. I have never read a poem where Jews were celebrating on 9/11 that he wrote.
Well, he said something. There was one.
No. You would have to say, Woody, it's in this book, blah 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 blah, and I will go and read it for myself.
I'll email you after, because I remember reading that line that stands there and being like, well, screw him with all due respect. But you were friends with the guy, so you don't see he was had a racist bone in his body. But I want to know, what's the deal? How did we grow so far apart, if you will, from the 1960s when we seemed really, really close together?
I don't know. I've never been apart. Well, I don't know.
Because you work in theater and it's full of Jews. You have to be. You're going to all together.
But he worked in theater. He wrote all these plays that I did.
But I'm talking not just him. I'm talking about the current, this wave, this undercurrent of Black people finding Jews international conspiracists and moneymakers. Well, we do all the funding. So what's the deal? Do you have an ear to the pipeline of that? Because I speak for all.
The resurrection in the Capitol with the signs and all of that on Wednesday.
Oh, well, yeah. What about it? That I don't get it. What about it?
Those were all. There was no Black people there.
No, certainly not. Those were crazy people. What about it?
Okay, but why are they crazy? Why no one talked about the Jews there? No one talked about the Confederate flag there. No one talked about whether the nationality of the people there. And that was a really a kind of revolution.
In a very tiny, easily put downable way. And by the way, if you read the news and the stories, I'm sorry to say there were a lot of Orthodox Jews there. They were on they have somehow bonded, I mean, a very small group of them, with the Proud Boys. Somebody explain this shit to me. So
Well,
how does that happen? It's like, oh, Mengele, hi, I'm Isaac. What the, so I'm just wondering if you
I'm
had.
not going to do a play about that. I tell you that.
Do it, please, please.
I'm not going to do it.
I mean,
I will let an Orthodox Jew do that play.
That's fair. Well,
Rabbi.
I mean, I can tell you right now that the Orthodox support Donald Trump because he supports very strongly Israel, and we're very okay with that. I'm very happy about that. But that's for another conversation another time. Let's get back to directing on Broadway in a very cute show that the producer, my friend Dave, who hosts the show, saw on Broadway and was surprised that it wasn't a bigger hit. They're called Checkmates.
Yeah.
That was, I feel, or he feels that was an attempt to kind of do the Neil Simon thing, a nice boulevard comedy, but for a Black audience, to bring Black middle-class people and upper-class people to the theater, just like Jews would run and see 2 Neil Simon shows every year. Was that kind of the intent to bring Checkmates to Broadway?
No.
Oh.
Philip Rose, a Jew, was one of the producers of that play. He saw it in San Francisco when I did it in San Francisco. And he said, wow, if you can get some stars, because we need stars, we'll do it. So I called up Denzel, called up Miss Ruby Dee and Paul Winfield. And the only thing about that was that the young girl, she had to resemble Denzel's wife in real life. And that's why Marsha Jackson got the role. And she had done it in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's internal conflicts and mechanisms at work. You learn all these things that are at work. The Schuberts, we were in a Schubert theater. No one from the Schubert organization came. Roy Somio signed the checks. Roy Somio paid the bills, and he was just a general manager. So that's what you learn. You learn the mechanisms of Broadway. You learn the how it works, and you learn the number of people necessary behind the scenes to make it work. The number of carpenters, the number of costume sewers, and the number of understudies. You learn all that. But a full character play might have 4 understudies.
Well, yeah. But then the thing is, that was almost 30 years ago. Were you going through that experience, you didn't want to do Broadway again, or you didn't get the opportunity? Or I would assume once you get a directing credit on Broadway, you kind of.
But I owned the play. They had to option it from me because I optioned it from the writer.
Right. Well, good for you. But you went back to working at New Federal. You didn't.
I never stopped working at New Federal.
I know, but you didn't start working more on Broadway. Was that a decision that you decided, I don't want to deal with Broadway, I'm happy at my theater? Or, oh, I wish I could option more show. I wish I could get more stuff on Broadway, but it's just not happening.
But see, now we tried out Checkmates in Atlanta, Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, LA, 5 cities before, and Philip Rose saw it in San Francisco.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and that's how it got to Broadway. It didn't get to Broadway through any kind of mechanisms that I knew. He saw it, he said, if we can get stars, we can do it on Broadway.
So, but once you were able to do, was there ever a sense when you had another show that you thought would be popular enough to tour beyond New Federal's, off-Broadway walls? Did you think, let's try and get some producers here, let's find another Philip Rose, we have another show that could do as well or better on Broadway than Checkmates did, or that was never a
No,
thought?
that was never, Broadway is never an end in itself.
Mm-mm.
Make it an end in itself, you are in trouble. You know, it's I've observed the mechanisms of Broadway. I've observed the mechanisms of filmmaking and off-Broadway, off-Broadway. So all of that, you got to know it if you work in it.
True. So what if someone were wanting to start a theater company in 2022, like a little off, not just anywhere, besides the great advice of get people who are real experts and know what they're doing, what else would you suggest in terms of building a theater company from scratch?
You must love the theater. You must love the play you're going to do. You must love the actors and the director. You must have seen their work. You cannot not have seen their work. You just can't hire people out of the blue. They expect to work with them 8 weeks. It is impossible.
Do you, since you're this overseer, because you get other people to direct most of the time for the, not just online, but over the years, other people have directed the show. So how, when do you watch the rehearsal process, or do you just you step away for a couple of weeks and let the director alone, or do you sometimes have to say that scene isn't working, do this?
Yeah. Yes, you do that.
Oh, you do that.
Yeah.
Because a producer,
you have a production meeting every week.
Oh wow.
There's a production meeting every week.
But have you ever clashed with a director seriously on a show where their vision is completely? So what happened? How did you resolve it? I mean, you were the boss, but how did you resolve it?
Honestly, I don't remember, but it was resolved because we went on.
Oh.
It must have been resolved because we kept going.
We're going to keep going with the Dave's Gone By program here. We've been talking with Woodie King Jr., but Woodie, I want to give you the option, and you can or you can. This is totally up to you. But we have to bring Dave back into the Daverhood to do the Today Yesterday trivia quiz, where you get to answer trivia questions about this day in history, all things that happened on January 9th in history. Would you like to stay and play against our usual weekly contestants? There's no prize. It's just fun.
No, I wouldn't. Okay.
All right. Well, in that case, then I'm afraid we must abdicate Woodie King Jr. But we want to thank you, first of all, for so much, for being part of the show, for taking the time to be with us on this Saturday. It remains for me to, first of all, wish you continued 83, 93, 153. You should live healthy and good, and your theater should stay healthy and good with you and long beyond you. This is what I hope for you. So.
Okay, and if you want to read some great Jewish plays, I've got them.
Oh, please, yes, please, and we'll trade. And I want to remind people, I'm sorry, that on January 17th at 4:00 Eastern time, that is when you can see the virtual celebration of New Federal Theater's 50th anniversary online at New Federal Theater's website. So be there.
The website. You want me to give you the website?
Give it away. Do it.
www.newfederaltheater.com.
And is that R-E or E-R on the theater?
R-E.
R-E. newfederaltheater.com. Yes.
We put it in the chat.
We even put the website in.
And the link to the film about it.
We put a link in our chat to it, so and a link to the film. So everybody definitely be there on the 17th, and be there to support New Federal Theater when they're doing readings, and of course when they come back to the Castillo Theater in, God willing, late 2021. Be well. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and have a wonderful Shabbos.
Man, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Shalom to you. Woodie King Jr. from the New Federal Theater with us in the Daverhood on this Shabbos. Let me just, I gotta go get David now. Let me play a little bit of the Broadway music to take us out of this segment. And we will go to today, yesterday, and a very good Shabbos to all of you.
Ain't Broadway grand? It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air. Ain't Broadway grand? It's excitement, it's romance, it's all fun and song and dance. This wonderland, you can be a millionaire quicker here than anywhere. Ain't Broadway grand? You audition very well, you're in great form, you can tell. Ain't Broadway grand? As you do your last take, we'll call you is all they say. Ain't Broadway grand? Then it happens they pick you, and your dream is coming true, just as you planned. And that opening night is here, and the critics rave and cheer. Ain't Broadway grand? And your name's on that marquee, where else would you want to be? Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, the dulcet tones of Ain't Broadway Grand from what I thought was a very, very underrated Broadway show. No, I like that show. I like that show a lot. Obviously, our guest in the Daverhood, David Sheward, did not like it so much, but welcome, David. How
No,
are you?
I did not get a chance to see it. It came and went too quickly.
Yeah, it was, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it has one of the catchiest songs ever. Ain't Broadway Grand. So, not so grand that I was hoping that our guest in the neighborhood, Woodie King Jr. would stay and play our today, but he's not. He was like, Rabbi Saul gave him the option, and he was like, no. So no. And unfortunately, our other contestant, Leslie Blake, has texted to say that she's not going to play the game either. So
What's
David,
her problem?
I know.
That's too bad. I've seen many productions at the New Federal Theater.
What was your favorite?
Let me think. Well, I guess that was called, I can't remember the entire title, but I think it was something like The Trial of One Short-Sighted Negro Woman. And
I starred in that. I actually play. I have an eye patch and everything. It was really cool.
And it was sort of a symbolic, absurdist play about a trial of and there was Negro or African American stereotypes, and it was like in the form of a trial. And
was it satirical or was it?
It was satirical. It was satirical.
Cool.
It was a very interesting, weird, strange play. And there was another play called Long Time Since Yesterday about 5 Black women who were reuniting, and they'd all gone through personal traumas, and a lot of excellent actresses were in it. Hattie Winston, I think Lee Chamberlain, a lot of people.
Well, yeah, no, he looks great. He's 83 years old. We just Woodie King Jr. on, folks, and he was
yeah,
looks terrific, doing fine, getting the theater through the pandemic like everybody else is trying. Have you been watching any Zoom stuff recently? Any virtual stuff that's tickled you?
No. Well, I don't know if we talked about it last time. I don't even remember what the date was of our last meeting, but I did watch Meet Me in St. Louis from the Irish Repertory Theater.
Oh, was that really nice with Melissa Errico, our friend?
Melissa Errico played the mother.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun. It was a beautiful. Max von Eisen was the boy next door, and Katie Fitzgerald was the maid. Kathy Fitzgerald, rather, was the maid.
Okay, yeah.
The housekeeper. And it was like they were all in separate locations, but it was filmed very much integrated, and it was very charming. I guess it was kind of Charlotte Moore, the artistic director, directed it, and it must have been a lot of work because there were like 20 people, and they were all in different. It was kind of weird that at one point the hero and the heroine lean in to kiss each other, and they're both separate places. So it's like these ghost images, like sort of missing each other, just,
Oh,
mingling
so,
against.
so he was here or she was there, and they just sort of separate boxes. Did you? They just kind
Well,
of.
they were like superimposed over each other, and it looked as if they were kissing, but it was obvious that they were like images, holograms or whatever.
Oh wow! Wow.
And I also
They did,
watched,
what?
oh,
What
sorry.
was it?
uh, I was about to say streaming musicals also had something called Estella Scrooge.
How was that? I had no.
It was okay.
Yeah,
It was all right. It was kind of silly,
Tell them about what we saw.
I like silly. I like.
The mint and
but it had a lot of really good people in it. Danny Brustein.
Oh.
Uh,
Wait a minute, he did. How long ago did he do this? Because he's in mourning at as far as I know.
it was about a month ago that
A
he
month,
must have
alright,
filmed it. Patrick Page was in it.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Lauren Patton from Jagged Little Pill. Carolee Carmello.
That's a hell of a cast for
Yeah.
something that could have been. Sounds like it could have been a little bit better. Oh well.
Betsy Wolfe, I think, played the
Wow.
title role. And it was all right. It was a little, it was an updating of A Christmas Carol. What an original idea. And they just laid in every Dickens reference they could possibly think of.
Well, now, please, my wife and I endured the Meshuggah Nutcracker
Oh,
on Netflix.
oh boy.
It would have been cute in like a children's theater situation.
Oh.
But it was like 2.5 hours long, and
Oh,
it was like the stories of Helm that were brought to the stage. If you've ever read the Helm stories, they're like foolish people who are foolish in a wise way and a wise in a foolish way in these little Russian shtetl Jewish villages. But to try to blow that up into like joke or little vignettes that
Yeah.
aren't funny enough to be on stage is kind of like, oh, and since this is comical, hilarious Jewish theater, there are both the first act and the second act seems to take place in a concentration camp. So how much fun can the Meshuggah
that
Nutcracker
sounds
be?
like, oh, that's weird. That sounds like that production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that was on Broadway, where it looked like in the second act they go to the imaginary country where children are forbidden.
Right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was kind of like, being in a Nazi country where all the children had to hide, and they
Yeah,
were
it got
like
really dark
like-
for Chitty Bang. Yeah, exactly.
they were like Jews, and
Yeah.
the king and the queen were like these weird Nazis, and it was very strange.
Well, but so at least we didn't see that. You just sat through Estella Scrooge. Are you going to watch? They're doing Lazarus, the David Bowie musical, and that is coming. They have video of that they did, I guess, at New York Theater Workshop, and they're doing this weekend. So
Oh.
I'm going to check that out.
I might. I'll try to see it. But I did the last thing that's theater related was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is on Netflix, which I enjoyed very much. I thought was a very exciting adaptation of Wilson's play
With
Viola Davis and
Chadwick Boseman. Yeah,
the late Chadwick Boseman. And I understand they want to adapt all the remaining Wilson plays eventually, and eventually do all of them.
that'd be cool. Into actual film. This was not, by the way, Zoom theater, folks. This was
So that's an actual movie.
film.
Yeah.
I think the script was by our friend Ruben Santiago Hudson and George C. Wolfe directed. So it was definitely worth watching. My wife was a little disappointed, I guess, in just that it went in a fairly expected way at the end, where, oh, of course, he's got to go and stab somebody. It's going to be a tragic sort of ending like that. It was too dramatic, but
that's Wilson's intent, and what he's showing is that the trumpet player Levy, played by Chadwick Boseman, wants to have his own band, start his own thing, be his own person, and the white music publisher says, nah, I'm not interested. Sorry, I'll give you $5. That's all.
right, yeah.
And he knows he's furious, and he can't lash out at the white guy because of, or he'd go to prison right away just for even talking nasty to him. So he takes it out on another black musician, and there's a murder. And that Wilson is showing that this is the result of racism, that it twists and perverts and turns you into a monster.
And just look at Rabbi Saul Solomon, and you can see it right there. You can absolutely, well, he's a sacred monster, I think. But anywho, it's just about 11 o'clock. I want to tell people that you're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce, and our guest in the Daverhood, theater critic and blogger, David Sheward. You can read him at theaterlife.com, culturalweekly.com, and the David Desk blog. Was that? No, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks. Oops, I'm grabbing. I accidentally grabbed the rabbi's mug. Here's my mug.
Oh, okay.
So alas and alack, well, no, let's look on the bright side. We have a wonderful person to play our yesterday quiz. So you're playing against the house. Okay, we're gonna...
I'll play against the house. Okay, the house has the advantage.
Yeah, we always do. So here's the deal. Questions are worth 2 points. If you get them, you get 2 points. If you don't, you don't. Maybe you can just try and best your best score, although I think you scored like 16 one time. So that is not easy. But I wonder, maybe I'll give you 2 guesses on something you get wrong. Maybe we can do that. Or
all right.
And folks, if you're typing it at home on Facebook, just feel free to see if you can beat David and get the answers right. So these questions are things in history that happened on this date, January 9th. Wait,
hold on 1 second. One
oh,
second.
Of course.
Yeah,
we're just in a show here.
Hello. Oh, hi. Just one second. Let me get there. Hold on 1 second.
Mute yourself, maybe, or and come back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jerry, I'm on the web right now. So just remember that I'm doing a web interview. So just whatever question Janet has, relay it to me. Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Jerry.
It was not a robocall. It was my husband's sister.
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry. His sister was calling.
Oh, right. Oh, wait. Your husband is Jerry, and her
My husband's sister. Yes.
What does she do?
She's retired.
Nice. And she was doing? This is worse than Woodie King Jr. I'm trying to get some answers. What was she doing when she was working?
She worked. She worked at a school as a secretary at a school.
Cool.
On Long Island.
Oh my God! in what district?
I don't remember.
Oh, just curious.
I think Plainview. Plainview.
Well, we are taking a plain view of the questions ahead, ladies and gentlemen, for 10 questions for David Sheward. Let's see how he does. The year 1493.
Okay.
Christopher Columbus was sailing the ocean blue near the Dominican Republic when he spotted mermaids in the sea. He wrote, quote, "They're not half as beautiful as they're painted." That's because they were manatees. Which of these is not true about manatees?
Oh, that's
multiple choice. There we go.
That took a long way to get there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Four possibilities here, multiple choice. A, they come up for air every 3 to 5 minutes, but they can hold their breaths up to 20 minutes. B, when manatees are born, they already weigh nearly 100 pounds. The closest living species to manatees are elephants. Or D, throughout their lives, manatees lose their front teeth and grow new back ones. Which of these is not true about manatees?
Oh, okay. I was confusing them with jellyfish. Okay, a manatee is. It's like looks like a.
It's a sea cow.
It looks like a sort of a boomerang shaped thing, I think.
A manatee?
Sea cow. Tell them sea cow.
A sea cow. It's a.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll go with. So it's. Do they? I think the third one sounded good about how much they weigh.
Yeah.
No. Give me the 4 choices again.
Yeah. The one thing is I have to apologize this because I didn't put down the answer so I have to check again. Now I know.
All right.
I'll read the things again about manatees that on this date Christopher Columbus wrote about seeing. He didn't know what they were. He thought they were mermaids and they weren't as hot as mermaids you would think they would be.
Okay.
So which of these is not true about our friend the manatee? A, They come up for air every 3 to 5 minutes, but they can hold their breath up to 20 minutes. B, when manatees are born, they already weigh nearly 100 pounds. C, the closest living species to manatees are elephants. Or D, throughout their lives, manatees lose their front teeth and grow new back ones.
Oh, now that I'm picturing manatees, that it could be any one of them. I will go with C.
You will say C, that it is not true that the closest living species to manatees
Yeah.
are elephants.
I'll go along with that.
Sorry, I gotta get my little. No, I'm afraid not. Oh, your elephant memory not working on that one. They are actually close to. I think they're mammals, and they're quite like elephants, closest, I guess, underwater elephants.
Okay.
I can give you 1 point since you can steal from yourself, and you're the only player. Do you want to try one of the others?
Okay. So what's left is 100. They weigh up to 100 pounds. They have front teeth, or they
They come up for air every 3 to 5 minutes, but they could, if they needed to, hold their breath for about 20.
That all of this sounds very plausible. How about the one about teeth?
Is that your final second answer?
Sure.
Well, this will give you something to chew on. I'm afraid that is not the correct answer either. The thing about the manatee is when they're born, they weigh about 50 or 60 pounds. So it's about half. They don't weigh half
It's
they're
very
born.
tricky there. Okay.
A little bit
All right.
tricky. The others are absolutely true. If you ever watch manatees and they come up for air very frequently, they don't have to as much. And I didn't know about the teeth, but they grow new teeth. All right, on to the next question.
I'm sorry, I didn't read enough Aquaman comic books.
Yes, well.
I did watch Aquaman on TV though, but
I've never seen Aquaman. I've never.
There was a cartoon series called the Superman Aquaman Adventure Hour in the late 60s.
I saw a bunch of files about them, but they were waterlogged.
Oh, Mr. Peabody.
Thank you very much. Our second question for David Sheward on this Today Yesterday quiz starts in 1838.
All right.
The very first photograph of a human being was taken today in France by an artist who invented a process of treating a silver-plated sheet with fumes to make it light sensitive. Name this inventor who also co-invented the diorama.
Oh, good heavens. Oh, okay. Who invented the, well, it may be somebody with a name that led to it. I don't know. I'll say Monsieur le Photographe.
Actually, you're well close. Joyce is doing a suggestion there. Do you want to go with Monsieur le Photographe?
Yes, I will go with Monsieur le Photographe.
Oh, well, no. but do you want to try a second guess? And for 1 point, I'll say again that it's the very first photograph with a human being in it. Was taken in France today by an artist who invented a process of treating silver-plated sheet with fumes to make it light sensitive. This inventor also co-invented the diorama.
Monsieur le diorama.
What was that? Hold on. Do you want to play?
No, it's
Well, I'm afraid you're Monsieur le Photographe and Monsieur le, no. And I'm not going to expose myself on this one. The answer is Louis Daguerre, inventor of the Daguerre.
Oh, daguerreotype. Okay.
Right. So, and this is kind of interesting. The way it happened was, it was a street scene. And the camera was open for a long time. Exposures had to be extremely long back then when they were taking pictures. So subjects either had to stay still for a long time. So when you see these pictures from that far ago, it looks like city streets are deserted. They're not. It's just people were moving around too quick to be caught. But a shoe shine boy or a guy having a shoe shined stayed in one place long enough to be exposed on that thing. And he's the first person. You can't really see a face or anything, but you see a figure. And that's the first time you ever saw a photograph of a person. So there you go. Anyway, Louis Daguerre of the daguerreotype is the answer we were going for.
I get it.
We now move into the 1900s. So
Okay. Oh, good. Finally.
some of these get maybe easier. You know your politics. So 1913
Uh-huh.
was the year. Born today, the man who will become the 37th president of the United States.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to get? This is not the question.
No,
But you probably know your numbers. So do you know who that was?
Terry, I'm on the web right now.
Jerry, could you?
He was just coming into the room and like making a face at me.
Hold on. Get him on camera. He didn't come on
I'm
camera.
He was in a state not fit to be seen.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Hello. All right.
All right, so the 37th president of the United States. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who it is.
Oh, that's it? But there's more.
That's not the question. That's not
Oh,
the
go
question.
ahead.
It was Nixon, Richard Milhous.
Oh, okay. Nixon.
Born today in 1913.
Mm-hmm.
Which of these is not true about Tricky Dick?
Okay.
Multiple choice. A, he implemented the Civil Service Reform Act. B, he signed Title IX into law, a civil rights bill that prohibits gender bias in colleges.
Amen.
C, he created the Office of Minority Business Enterprise to encourage minority hiring.
Okay.
Or D, he established the Environmental Protection Agency.
Oh, interesting. Now,
One of these is he did not.
He did not. Okay, I'm pretty sure I think he did establish the Environmental Protection Agency, surprisingly enough. So the others were so what were the other?
I'll read them again. So
Okay.
which of these did Richard Milhous Nixon not do? Was it A, he implemented the Civil Service Reform Act? B, he signed Title IX into law, which is a civil rights bill that prohibits gender bias in colleges. C, he created the Office of Minority Business Enterprise to encourage minority hiring. Or D, he established the Environmental Protection Agency.
Oh, the trick here is that any one of those things you would think that a Republican would not have anything to do with, stereotypically.
Right.
Let's see, which is kind of ironic that it's Nixon's birthday and we're now have a president who also may be
gone with 1 week left, and it's just ridiculous. But okay, yeah.
Well, that's a whole other discussion, which we'll see.
I mean, it's a week. Let the man finish his damn term. Just get his finger off the button.
Oh yeah, it's perfectly okay to incite and overturn the election and incite a mob and invade the Capitol. That's fine. Go right ahead.
All right.
Go right ahead, white supremacist racist. Go right ahead. Do it. Try and overturn, it's perfectly fine. Go ahead. No consequences. Go ahead.
They're all getting arrested. But he's
not. There were thousands of people. Only 68 of them have been arrested so far. Every one of those MFs should be arrested. Anyway.
They're actually looking now, because my theory is that there was inside support, like they were let in
from the police.
There's a whole story saying that people who work in that building can't find certain offices, like they're hard.
Oh yeah.
And then how come the protesters, or
they're able to find Pelosi's office?
Yeah, they could find certain. And then somebody said that they were directed by the police. So maybe the White House. So I believe that they had someone gave them the
inside specs or something.
But we can discuss it later. But anyway, my main point, it's like you have to send a signal. And even if, even if they impeach, he won't be turned out of office. There's not enough time.
He's been impeached already. What good did it do?
It sends a signal that this sort of behavior is not acceptable. That's what it does.
Yeah.
We know it's not acceptable. That's why he wasn't voted back in. We know
this is after the election.
Yeah.
Anyway. And if they go to trial, one of the things is that you cannot, and you can still do it.
Or he can't run in 2024.
Then you cannot run again. He cannot hold any more offices.
I forgot about that part.
And then all of a sudden, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley would say, "Oh, maybe that might not be such a bad idea."
I'm just saying, if New York State gets him on other stuff, he won't be able to run in 2024 anyway. If he really did some illegal, fraudulent stuff, business.
Pile it on as much as he deserves everything.
Wow.
Anyway.
Well, anyway,
Deserves
here's a question about Nixon.
Okay. Okay. So gender equality, environmental protection. What else?
Minority business enterprise
Minority business enterprise.
and the EPA.
And I think he did the EP. I think he did do the APA. I'll say minority businesses.
So you're saying that is not true. He
Right.
did not do that
I
one.
mean, he could have, but I'll just pick that one.
Well, the majority opinion is that is not the correct answer. Wow, David, man, this is not your week.
These are like really obscure.
They're intentionally, because as you said, the whole idea of the question is like, wait a minute, these don't sound like Nixonian Republican things at all.
But I'm pretty sure he did do the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah, he did do. Well, let me. Do you want to steal from yourself? Do you want to see if you can get 1 point?
Okay, so what does that leave? So we know it's not minority businesses. So that leaves what?
That leaves Civil Service Reform Act, Title IX, and the EPA.
Then the first one.
Civil Service Reform Act.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm glad we've gone back to being civil after our conversation, because that is the correct answer, David Sheward. Yeah. The Civil Service Reform Act was implemented, but it was much later by Jimmy Carter.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
All right.
Anyway, all right, 1 point for David Sheward. Yeah, you're starting. You're getting.
I'm not like Dr. Sue. I don't beg for points.
All right, fair enough. But
My ego is not so fragile that I need affirmation.
Ouch! She watches the show every week.
No, okay, I'm just joking.
I know.
I'm just,
The year 1937.
Okay.
Here we go. Opening tonight at Broadway's Martin Beck Theater.
Oh, finally, a Broadway question. Okay.
Is High Tor.
Okay.
All right, then. A comedy set near the Hudson River. The show wins a New York Drama Critics Circle Award for its author, who also won acclaim for a number of historical plays written about the Tudor period. Name that playwright.
Maxwell Anderson.
Do you want to? Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
And you have Maxwell answered correctly. Yes, indeed. Well done. That didn't even. Okay, that one quick. So you have 3 points, David Sheward. Yay! In our yesterday quiz. See, this is why we have other contestants. Like, I don't know if Woodie King Jr., you probably would have gotten that one. Let's see. 1947 begins our next question. On this date, January 9th, 22-year-old aspiring actress Elizabeth Short disappeared in Los Angeles today. She was found a week later, horribly mutilated and cut in half. The murder captured the public imagination and even spawned a movie-inspired nickname for the victim. What was that nickname?
It's either the Blue Dahlia or the Black Dahlia. I think it's the Black Dahlia.
So are you going to go with?
Yeah, the Black Dahlia.
Good job. Yes, indeed. You have come into full flower on that one. The answer is indeed. So what happened was, the little confusion there, and you weren't confused at all. It was, her nickname was the Black Dahlia, which kind of came about because there was a 1946 film noir called The Blue Dahlia.
Oh, okay.
That was the thing. So it kind of was in the ozone.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And that's how they grabbed the thing. And
I knew I had heard that before.
So pretty horrible. They actually have photographs of like her cut in half and her face all sliced up. It's fun breakfast eating, let me tell you. Anyway, but now David Sheward really powering back. He's leading himself 5-0. So in our yesterday quiz.
5 already?
Yeah, 5 points. You got 1 point.
Oh, it's 2 points. Okay. All right.
Yeah, 1 point on Nixon, 2 for Maxwell Anderson, and 2 more for the Black Dahlia. Well done.
Okay. All right.
And we just move further and further forward.
Going.
The year 1955. Born today in Michigan is this Oscar-winning actor known for playing a brutal inmate on Oz and a psychiatrist on Law and Order? For 1 point, name the actor, and for the second point, the insurance company for which he
Oh.
shields.
J.K. Simmons. We are farmers. Bum da dum 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 dum. Farmers insurance.
I purposely put that in so that you would sing, because you have to sing the thing. You have to do the bum 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 bum. Yes, he is Farmers, and he is J.K. Simmons, who was
Yes.
born today. I remember, first time I ever saw him was in I'm sure you remember this off-Broadway show called Das Barbecue.
Oh,
where
was he, I remember that show. I don't remember him in
He
that.
played a narcoleptic giant. It was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. He was just standing there. He'd be like, just the way he did it was hysterical. And we don't think of him as comedy, but he was great.
He was also in Guys and Dolls.
Right. Yes.
In the '92 revival.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Das Barbecue, it's funny you bring that up. That was the year there were so few shows. It was nominated for a Drama Desk Award. And everybody was like, this thing? And it only ran like 2 or 3 weeks. But it got like 10 nominations because there were so few shows.
Yeah.
So few shows that year that it got a whole bunch of nominations.
Yeah. It was actually cute. It was just, like an opera. It went on and it was like 2 hours of, okay, we get it, opera jokes set in Texas or something like that. But it was, yeah. So yeah, you are winning and being grilled, David Sheward, getting a little barbecue joke there. You so far have 7 points. So I don't know if you can still.
Can he beat himself?
Well, I think your highest.
That's a personal question.
Yeah, we'll see. But you've got 7 so far. Let's see if we can get to like 10 or 12 or maybe more in our today, yesterday quiz. The year 1959.
The year of my birth.
Oh, my mazel. Debuting tonight on CBS is a new Western co-starring Eric Fleming and Clint Eastwood. Name the show.
Oh. And I even know the name of the character that Eastwood played. It was Rowdy Yates. Rawhide.
So is that your final answer?
Yes.
Are you going to sing a little of the theme?
Something Rawhide.
Yeah, that's something. Rawhide.
I think Frankie Lane sung it or something.
Probably. Well, but yes, I had no idea Clint Eastwood did like television for years. He did.
Yeah.
And what was his character? I never watched it. With character?
Rowdy Yates was the name of the character.
Well, you are correct on all counts, which gives you so far 9 points in our today, yesterday solo quiz for David Sheward.
What would you do without me? What would you have done if I had said, "Oh, I'm busy today"?
But weirdly enough, before I had the idea of having people, I would just read the questions on air and
have the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't nearly as good,
Yeah,
David.
it's so much better when we can interact. And, and it's nice when we also have,
That's what I've been told the morning after quite often.
Oh, well, there.
Whoa.
You get it? You said it's better when we interact,
Yeah, more
Did you get that?
Oh, Mr. Peabody.
Oh,
Here we go. All right, here we go.
I don't want to go down that path,
That's what he said. But here we go. 1976 was the year. All right. Hitting #1 on the country music charts is this trucker tune featuring characters named Rubber Duck, Pigpen, and Sodbuster.
It's Old Town Road.
For 1 point, name the song, and for the other, the singer.
1967?
No, 1976.
That makes sense. Okay.
1976 was the year. Hitting #1 on the country music charts is this trucker tune featuring characters nicknamed Rubber Duck, Pigpen, and Sodbuster. For 1 point, name the song, and for the other, the singer.
I think it was called Convoy, and I think it was Mac Davis, I'm guessing. That's what I'm going to say.
So is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, you are partially correct.
Okay.
You did get the one part of this right. Do you want to take a second guess for the other point?
I think I got the title right.
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I don't. I have a memory of Mac Davis singing a song like this because he sang a lot of like satirical or funny songs. Um, and I do have a memory of Mac Davis singing. So maybe that part's right. I don't know. And there was a movie called Convoy. And it was a big craze. It was a big, fad for a while that everybody was into. And there was even a movie called Citizens Band that I think Jonathan Demme directed that got all kinds of critical notice. But I don't know which part I'm right on. I think I'm right on Mac Davis, but I don't know.
All right, well,
I will just leave. I'll leave my answer where it stands.
leave your answer where it stands. I wasn't going to take away a point, no
Okay.
matter what you did on the second guess. But first of all, you were indeed right. We have a great big convoy rocking through the night. Remember that?
Yeah, that's almost as good as Rawhide.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No, please. My dad was into country music for a while, and when we'd go on vacation, he would put
Oh.
WHN, which was a New York country station back then. And they had a playlist of about 12 songs. So if you were in the car for like 7 hours a day, you heard the same fucking songs.
Oh yeah.
So Convoy would play about 5 times a day.
Oh,
we were
yeah.
in the thing. But it was not the late, we just lost him actually, Mac Davis. It was not.
Oh.
It was a guy named C.W. McCall.
Oh.
Who
Okay.
did Convoy. And you're right, there was a movie, I think Peckinpah directed the first movie. And then since then, I think it was you're right, it was Demme. I could be wrong about
Well, Convoy and
Convoy.
Citizens Band were 2 different movies, I think. Yeah.
that could, but anyway, you're right about and CB radio and all of
People
that.
getting shot and killed 37 times, so maybe Peckinpah did.
Not every movie he did was like, well, most of them were.
Yeah.
But so far, David Sheward, you have a perfect 10. Speaking of movie titles, you can go for 12 in our very last question in our yesterday quiz. And folks, I hope you've been playing along and trying to guess the answers before we get them from David Sheward, our guest in. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, we have 2 more questions.
Okay.
You can build on that score.
All right.
Here we go. I know how much you love sports.
Okay.
1979 was the year.
Uh-huh.
A year after he retired from hockey after multiple knee injuries.
Uh-huh.
This Canadian-born defenseman was honored by the Boston Bruins, who retired his jersey number 4.
Okay.
Can you name him?
The only hockey player I can think of at all on any team would be Bobby Orr, because I remember I grew up in Philadelphia, and there was this bitter rivalry between Philadelphia and Boston for the Stanley Cup. And when Philadelphia won, it's like nobody showed up at school. Everybody was in town for the Flyers, and people were chanting in the streets, 1, 2, 3, 4, who the F is Bobby Orr?
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm going to say Bobby Orr.
Is that your final answer, though?
Yeah. Yes.
No ifs, ands, buts, but we do have an or.
Yay.
David, sure, got a sports question, man. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well done. It was indeed him. Guess one of the all-time hockey legends. So number 4, Bobby Orr. All right, David, sure, you have now 12 golden points. So you can come close to like your all-time great score of 16. We can get there, but not quite. We've got one question left. So let's see how we do. The year, we're going backward because this is going to be the tiebreaker, was 1928.
Okay.
Born today in Manhattan and nicknamed Torchy by her college roommates at Wellesley,
Torchy.
This nice Jewish girl didn't write her first novel until she turned 50. But it and other trashy bestsellers like Dazzle, I'll Take Manhattan, and Mistral's Daughter made her a superstar. Name her.
Judith Krantz. Krantz. Judith Krantz.
Is that your
answer?
To paraphrase James Brown, I got cramps in my pants and I need to dance. Well done, David. Sure. What got it for you on that? Which part?
I knew that. Well, at first when he said Jewish, I thought Fanny Hirsch, but then I realized she would have been much earlier.
Yeah.
And then I remembered that there was a very popular book in the 70s called Mistral's Daughter, which I even think was made into a miniseries with Stacy Keach. And I remember I'll Take Manhattan is another title that she wrote. I never read any of them.
Oh, sure you didn't. No,
I didn't. I mean, I did read Jacqueline Suzanne's books because, you know, they were so trashy and easy to read. But
well, I assume hers were, Cranks's were too. I could have also said that I would have probably given it away more scruples than Princess Daisy. Were
Okay.
a couple of her even better known novels. But this is kind of cool. They called her Torchy for a couple of reasons. First of all, she was born Judy Tarcher. That was her actual name, so they called her Torchy Tarcher. And the reason was there was at one point when she was dating at Wellesley, she had 13 different dates with different boys on 13 different days.
Oh, what a slut.
Like, Torchy Tarcher, who became Judith Krantz, and you know was 50 years old and married when she had the opportunity to write a book. And then wrote several and huge bestsellers. So that gives you another 2 points. I think, let's see, how are we doing here? Let me count them all up. I was, but I got.
You know the quote of 2020 was?
What's that?
You're on mute.
10. 14. 14 big old points for David Sheward.
Oh, thank you.
Well done, well done. So, David, what's ahead for you this week? Just more writing, more teaching. I said, well, you've been back to school like the past week, I assume already.
Well, I'm going to draft some articles of impeachment, and then I'm going to.
And David again.
And go back to. I just did a review of wrote a review of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which will be on Theater Life and Cultural Weekly because there's no theater.
So the article goes to both places.
Yeah, it goes to both places. You know, just doing my job, doing school from my home. I don't know. Teachers are supposed to get the vaccines soon, and then we'll find out what happens with that. And you know, maybe I'll be going back to school soon, but we don't know. We haven't heard anything.
Are you at all nervous about the vaccine, or you're just bring it on?
I'm fine with the vaccine. I trust it. I have no problem with it.
Cool. And I love how they say it's a vaccine, isn't it? 2 of them.
Oh yeah, there are 2 different.
Get it and then get it again. I'm like, that's like 2 vaccines.
There are 2 vaccines, and each one you have to get 2 doses.
Wait.
No, you get you get a choice of Moderna or Pfizer.
Oh yeah, 2 different. You have 4 shots. You just get 2 shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
I once had 4 shots and I was stumbling out of the bar. Terrible. David Sheward, always a pleasure. I hope next week to have at least one other person playing against you in the Daverhood. And you know, even if not, this is great having you every Saturday on Dave's Gone By, playing Today, Yesterday. Happy 2021 to you.
Happy 21. Happy New Year.
And happy new president in a week and a half.
Oh yes, that's right. This is the first show of 2021.
Yeah. So, nice.
Off to a good start, right? What does that say? What does it say behind you?
Dave's Gone By, number 780.
Oh,
Woody. Oh, and this is.
I get it.
180th episode.
Oh, great. Great.
Thank you, David, and have a wonderful week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. David Sheward, ladies and gentlemen, in the Daverhood. Very, very thrilled to have him really every week playing the Today, Yesterday trivia game. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you were playing along too. So let's see, what else do we have to do on this 780th episode of the program? Well, we haven't done our Colorado Limerick of the Damned yet. We haven't done the Friends of the Daverhood. We talked a little, we talked about my Uncle Sonny, so we've done that. We haven't really talked about what's going on in the world at large, and started getting into that with David a little bit in terms of the craziness at the top of the food chain in America right now. I just like, I don't know, hon, do you think they should impeach the president, or just, give him a week and a half and let him go?
I've been packing to move, but no other country will take us.
No, but I'm saying it's like.
No, but it's what David said, that if you don't do any action, then he can run again.
Right, which is
That's
a scary thing that he potentially could. I'm saying, get him on something real. If he really misappropriated millions of dollars and so forth, then let the New York State, what do they call it? Not the comptroller,
I don't know.
whoever goes after you on behalf of New York State.
The prosecutor?
Yeah, the federal prosecutor or the state prosecutor. If he did that kind of wrong stuff, then he would be either go to jail or pay for that crime, and then I'm assuming he would not be able to run for president anyway.
I
So-
don't think so, yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's like the Democrats never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. This is your chance to worry about building the next administration. This is your chance to start thinking about healthcare, to start dealing with insurance, to start dealing with schools and college debt and re-purifying and getting better air that we can all breathe and better water. Why are you going to take a week or 2 or 4 and drag a president who's out the freaking door through the mud that he himself concocted and spattered over the Republican Party? Let him get his finger off the button and just let him do what he has to do. And I have to say, the first thing that Biden has done, even though he's not in office anymore, or not anymore, he hasn't in office yet, right? But first thing he has done has made me really, really happy and really, really proud. I love that. I was reading some responses to a news story about some of the craziness going on in America, and some guys said, well, why doesn't Biden stop it? It's like, he's not in office. He doesn't have a job yet. He doesn't start for 2 weeks. What the hell? Why did Biden's? Some Republican is like, well, it's on Biden's term. No, it isn't. He's not the president. His people are not even installed yet. That happens January 20th. Fine. But one thing that he is doing is putting together the team, and he has made amends. And I've talked about this before. He did the one kind of a thing that Trump could have done fairly early in his presidency that would have really, I think, bridged the gap and made things so much better than they turned out to be, at least in working across the aisle with Democrats and Republicans and independents and liberals and right and left. What Trump could have done was, when he had the first chance to replace a Supreme Court justice, this is before RBG, but when an opening came on the Supreme Court fairly early in his term, what Trump could have done was bring back Merrick Garland, who, as you all know, was the guy that Barack Obama chose to join the Supreme Court when Obama had 9 more months of his term left. And Obama said, oh, I'm the president, I get to choose who's on the Supreme Court. Here's a very accomplished, good judge, little bit left-wing, but not remotely radical or left, very centrist, intelligent, fair judge, belongs on the Supreme Court. And Mitch McConnell and the jerks on the right and the Republican Party said, nope, 9 months of the presidency is a blink of an eye. It's nothing, right? We're not even going to vet him. We're not even going to put him through, the process of asking him questions and voting on him. We're just going to let the clock run out on the Obama administration and wait till the next president, whoever that is, to pick the next Supreme Court. And they did. They basically did this terrible disservice to this man, Merrick Garland, right? Who had every right, Obama had every right to make him a Supreme Court judge. And both parties and all the House and Congress should have voted him in, just pro forma, the way we used to do for decades with judges. When the president appointed a judge, it didn't matter, little left, little right. Both parties say, is he a competent judge? Has he done anything terrible? Does he know the law? All right, boom, yes, he's Supreme, pass it on. They just dig it. And now suddenly everything is so political that this person who really, really merited being a judge just on his own merits and on the fact that Obama had every right to appoint him, No, and the guy didn't get another chance, right? Instead, you had 2 or 3 Republican judges that Trump elected or nominated, were put forward by the Republicans, and kind of unfairly too. In revenge, the Democrats voted in lockstep not to have them in, but they got overridden by Pence's vote and things like that. But these were, again, these were Republican judges, for the most part, not very far right. They were conservatives, okay? In other circumstances, the Democrats would have reluctantly voted, okay, they're competent, they're capable, we'll vote them on, they're fine, you know. So that's where we are politically. And Biden, in one of his first acts as incoming president, is looking for a head of the Department of Justice. Whom does he choose? Merrick Garland, the guy who never got his shot. The guy who could have been on the Supreme Court for the past 5 years and was denied that unfairly by Bitch McConnell and the Republicans, right? He's gonna get, whether he ever gets to maybe be on the Supreme Court, I don't know, but at the very least, he's not an old guy. So at the very least, he gets to, a job deserving of him, and he gets a bit of that back. He's like, Biden, remember that, people have called for various reasons Biden a mensch. That was a mensch thing to do, to pick that particular man for something involving the law, big, high, important governmental position. Couldn't quite get him legendarily on the Supreme Court, at least not yet. But, I'm very, big thumbs up for Joe Biden. So I may end up making fun of him for the next 4 years, or when he stumbles on something or forgets something or does stuff that I don't like. But in this particular case, he's not even at his first 100 days, which are supposed to be the honeymoon period. This is he's in the foreplay period, and I'm with him. So yay on that. From me, Dave Lefkowitz, you're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream. It's our 780th episode. If you want to watch any one of our previous 779 of these, you can, because almost every single one of them has been preserved. Most of them are audio only, because we were a radio show, but they're at davesgoneby.com. DAVESGONEBY, davesgoneby.com. This is absolutely free. All the archives of the show, thousands of hours of entertainment going all the way back to 2002. We have a whole separate archive where we extracted the interviews that we do. So like the Woodie King Jr. interview that Rabbi Saul did earlier in this program. When we post the show on davesgoneby.com, we'll post the whole show, and then separately we'll have the interview with Woodie King Jr. So it's going to be, that's what we do week after week after week, and you can go and see the hundreds of guests who've been interviewed on the show, the funny songs we've done, the skits, Rabbi Saul's rabbinical reflections. It's all there from the very beginning. And I'm very proud of that, davesgoneby.com. We also post our archives at archive.org, a nonprofit organization, which I Rabbi Saul asked Woodie King about, did they ever videotape the shows that they were doing for the past 50 years? No, for various union reasons, but no. So, but guess what? At least we've got the audio of our shows on archive.org. I'm sorry, the audio and video as well on archive.org, the audio only at castbox.fm, and we try and put all our stuff on YouTube as well. So there's a whole bunch of ways to follow and watch Dave's Gone By, old and new. Make sure you know our Twitter handle, Radio Dave 2. That's Radio Dave, the number 2. And of course, to email me, davesgoneby@aol.com. Oh, and finally, if you happen to be awake at a ridiculous hour, remember that we're posting snippets, we're posting excerpts of Dave's Gone By episodes on Altice, Optimum, whatever the hell cable television it is on South Shore, Long Island, Channel 20, early Monday mornings at 1 a.m. when I know you're all watching TV. Or if you miss it, we have another episode on Tuesdays at 4 a.m. Huh? That's some good television right there. Just flip it on to Channel 20. They're the same stuff you would watch right at the website, but if you happen to be flipping channels and you want to see me on your 50-inch home viewing processor TV, that's a way to do it at those particular times. Anyway, still have a bit more to do on this January 9th, 2021 on Dave's Gone By. We've got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned and our friends of the Daverhood. But before we get to that, hon, are you feeling Colorado bound? Because it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for a segment that we've been doing for a few years now, based on a column in the local newspaper where Joyce and I were living for a while in Greeley, Colorado. They have the Greeley Tribune newspaper. And in the Tribune, which is a regular plain old local paper for the city of Greeley, they have two very funny columns every week. One of them has to do with people calling their local police department to say, hey, something weird is happening in the neighborhood. Please check it out. And the police do, but it's public record. So the funniest, weirdest ones make the papers. And also a column they do called 100 Years Ago, where our friend Mike Peters goes through the newspapers in Colorado back in late 1920 and now early 1921, 100 years ago, and pulls out the things that from our modern perspective are the weirdest, funniest, zaniest, oddest things in the papers. We mix it all up together for a segment that we like to call Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Greeley Crimes and Old Times, ladies and gentlemen, and we thank the Greeley Tribune for keeping these columns going. It's really cool of them. Okay, are you ready for some criminality and some
I'm always ready for criminality.
Some agitude?
Yes, sir.
Temporal agitude. Oh my goodness, hon. Oh my goodness, this is kind of special. We have an alert. And it's a modern hobo alert. When we first started doing this segment, when we started looking at the old times, the things from the newspapers 100 years ago, very often the stories were either about chickens running randomly around town, or about the homeless, about hobos who were...
Both were considered a public health nuisance.
Yeah, they were jumping off freight trains, staying in the town, causing problems, stealing...
The chickens or the hobos?
Both. But sometimes we actually get a modern day hobo. There they are. This is a modern day hobo alert from late
I'm a
December.
little bit scared already.
Oh, here we go. Police responded
Wait.
to a laundromat where a caller reported a homeless man who comes to the business all the time, smells, and causes problems.
There you go. Yeah, but
So-
where else would you be? If you're smelly, where else would you go but a laundromat?
Yeah, laundromat, you got all that soap there.
I mean, that's the appropriate place.
Yeah. The caller, you can tell this is Greeley, Colorado here. The caller asked if he, quote, had a right to shoot him.
Wait.
I'm guessing the police answered no,
Well, it depends on his identification.
but the homeless guy was not there when the police came to check things out. But yeah, a homeless person
Don't
in
you
your
think that's
laundromat.
overreaction, right? If somebody's just in your laundromat, you can't shoot them.
I know. Yeah, and if they're in the laundromat, wouldn't they just they come in, but when they go out with a tide,
Once they make it through the spin cycle.
and then they bounce.
Ah.
Oh yeah.
Or I thought they go with the Febreze.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Good times. Good
Yeah.
times.
All to our gain. Anywho,
God.
we have another crime, ladies and gentlemen, a modern crime for modern times. A caller on 27th Avenue reported an unknown person knocked on his door and left what on his doorstep? Ooh,
Doo-doo?
no,
Pee-pee?
no,
A cat?
no,
Puppy?
no,
DoorDash food?
no,
A gun?
no,
Drugs?
no,
A sister?
no,
A
no,
brother?
no. An unknown person
Yeah.
knocked on his door and left on his doorstep
Yeah.
a wheelchair.
That's nice. That's so nice of people.
Have the guy bring and run away.
I don't know. Maybe they were like a COVID delivery person and they didn't want to go too close to him.
Yeah, so
They probably got the address wrong.
yeah, but how do you leave a wheelchair on somebody's door? Oh, so they were delivering
Just
a
deliver it. Yeah, but how does the person get it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I don't know.
cool.
Just paralyzed with laughter here, ladies and gentlemen. These are all true, by the way. We're not making these up. These were in the paper. These either happened in recent times or, in this particular case, 100 years ago. All of downtown Greeley was shaken Wednesday afternoon when workers on the number 3 ditch used TNT to blast rocks out of the ground.
I know we have. Wait.
Yeah, there it is. Wow. Houses were shaken all over town, and at least one house had several broken windows.
That's not
Yeah.
good.
How do you just, you know, and it just amazes me what these folks, the amount
There's
of
complete freedom. There's
firepower.
There's complete freedom to like blow up things without like checking with anyone.
I know, especially back 100 years ago. Well, that blew up real good. Yeah.
Why would you, like, why let anyone know, right?
Where's that from, by the way?
What?
That really blew up real good. Was that Second City?
I don't know, honey. You're
When
too
they would
slow.
just have the TNT thing and go like, oh yeah, blew it up real good, real good.
You're too
Anyway,
smart for me.
I don't remember. Here's you'll like this one, Joyce. From 100 years ago, a state teachers college professor sued a minister for telling his congregation.
Yeah.
This is very complicated here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so a professor at the state teachers college, which eventually became
UNC.
the college you teach at,
Yes, ma'am.
sued a minister
Yes.
for telling his congregation
Wait,
that
that's
the
not one I want.
professor's
Wait,
son
wait.
went.
Where's that?
Interesting son he has there.
Yeah.
That the professor's son was playing football for Eton, but was not a student there.
Uh-oh.
That wasn't true.
Ringer.
The boy was an Eton student. So the professor sued the minister for $2,500
Whoa.
for defaming his son. They settled out of court for $1.
Here we go.
And an apology from the minister, who had to tell the congregation he was wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. But can you imagine suing somebody for $2,500 back then?
It's the gesture that was
But
because it would actually disqualify the team from playing in leagues and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. So it has ramification. Yeah.
I guess, but a minister, I mean,
Yeah.
tisk. Anywho, let's get back to new times. A man on 4th Avenue called to say he was still waiting for officers to bring him pizza.
I like that. I guess a lot of police are unemployed because of all the brutality. So maybe now they work for Domino's
Yeah.
or Pizza Hut.
I know.
And
I
they're like 30 seconds or less.
well, that's kind of a cheesy response, but
Oh.
but here's the. He was waiting for the officers to bring him pizza,
Yeah.
but someone told him the pizzas were going to be poisoned. When police tried calling the man, he said he wasn't interested and hung up.
That's good. Well, at least he got some intel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait. I gotta find. Uh-oh. Wait. I don't know where it is. Okay, I got
So here's the deal, folks.
it.
When you get information about pizza, remember that it's always so important to check the sauce. Huh? Or as Homer Simpson would say about a pizza joke, dough. I'm sorry. I know. I make the moats out of my jokes. And moats are right. All right, let's move forward as fast as we can. A man at apartments on 8th Avenue reported,
8th and 8th.
not 8th and 8th, but close. He reported being threatened by a pimp after trying to get an escort and then canceling the appointments.
You know what? If you're gonna make an appointment with an escort
Yeah.
and you cancel it, be mindful that you may get some,
Yeah.
higher management intervention.
Yeah, if it's less than 24 hours. Well, less than 4, if you've taken a Viagra and then you think better of it.
David, I hope it was a Zoom. It was like a Zoom.
Oh, I don't know. I probably not.
Oh, okay. That's
Man.
it.
Anyway, a woman in the parking lot of a store on Central Place Drive,
Oh, we know where that is.
yeah, reported a man
I know.
with a plastic tub of popcorn
Yeah.
was approaching her and trying to talk to her. She suspected he was trying to steal her purse.
Steal her what?
Her purse. So here's a man.
Why would you, if you're a robber, okay, let me just
Yeah.
think this.
Yeah,
If
unpack
you're,
this.
If you're a robber,
Mhm, mhm.
why would you bring a tub of popcorn?
That's distraction perhaps. But I would figure the thing is, popcorn is if you shake it, it goes
It
everywhere.
makes no sense.
You need like 2 hands.
Yes, to hold popcorn.
So why are
And
you?
He was just going to see a movie.
Yeah. Or I don't know if he was good. This thing, he's not sitting down, so he can't ask her to do the old reach into the popcorn box trick.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
naughty.
Yeah, but no, I don't even. I can't even. I don't. Huh. But anyway, no, that's kind of a corny joke. But okay, corny joke.
Oh God.
Anywho, let's go back to 100 years ago as fast as we can. The entire crew of a medicine show in Eton was arrested on gambling charges. The leader of the crew was charged with practicing medicine without a license. His name,
What?
Little Beaver.
Oh, Little Beaver, yeah, Little Beaver's rescuer. Mhm.
Uh-huh, Little Beaver's Rest Cure. My favorite kind. Which brings us, by the way, perfectly to our next story, which does not have to do with Greeley. Sometimes we go far away from Colorado for some of our weird stories, and this one happened in Brazil, as reported by Art.
Read it in Portuguese.
I cannot, I wish I could. I do not know Portuguese. Art News reported on this. The prize for 2021's most controversial public sculpture might already be in the bag. We might forget the next 12 months. The most controversial public sculpture already went up in early 2021 by a 33-meter high concrete crimson vulva. Recessed onto a hillside, the sculpture, which is called Diva, is by Brazilian artist Juliana Notari, questions inequality in relation to gender. The artist feels that these issues are increasingly urgent because the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, or Jair Bolsonaro, has gone on record furiously opposing abortion and also supporting censorship of the arts, particularly arts that are related to Black and LGBT issues.
Whoa.
Unsurprisingly, Notari has been deluged with thousands of Facebook comments over her vulva sculpture. Some call it leftist propaganda and obscene. One right-wing pundit wrote that the best way to deal with the sculpture would be with a 33-meter long penis. Left-wingers noted that this feminist work, they did say it was installed by 20 men. Wrote one wag, quote, "These men will never find the clitoris," unquote.
Oh.
Yeah. And by the way, you can go Googling on or Facebooking and you'll find it. It's just sort of looks just like a big old paint spill with a
Yeah,
gap in the
think-
middle.
I think they hired the same one who did the Cookie Monster guy. He's going to be working with the lady to do something.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the artist did not go to school. She was self-taught. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're watching Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. This is our 780th episode of this program. We're calling it Got Woody in honor of our guest, Woodie King Jr., who was on the show earlier. And so, yeah, it's January 9th, 2021. We're here for a bit longer. It's almost noon.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
We have a little bit more to do of the show, and then we'll let you go.
I
But
think that
yeah.
Dave Sheward is like, he can do the show himself. It's amazing. He can do the quiz himself.
Oh yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, he doesn't know a lot about manatees. That's interesting.
I know. I was
Manatees
disappointed.
are a gap in his like body of knowledge. Like in his mind palace, there mustn't be an aquarium.
Right. No dugongs.
No dugong, no
No,
Belmuth,
no narwhals
no
even.
narwhals.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do. Oh. Yeah, this is kind of great too. Since we were talking about a giant, enormous artistic vulva in Brazil,
Ay, ay, ay.
let's fly over to Denmark.
Denmark.
Where the New York Post reports that Denmark's John Dillermand is a TV series claymation character. He enjoys grilling and taking long walks around town and eating ice cream. But some of those activities can be difficult for a man with a comically long schlong. The new children's show on Danish public television is aimed at entertaining 4 to 8-year-olds who producers think will get a kick out of watching the perils of a man with a protracted penis. The show's creator, Jacob Ley, L-E-Y, claims the show is about removing shame and embarrassment when it comes to our bodies.
Nice.
However, Denmark's conservatives are criticizing the show. What in the world are you up to, wrote a parent? I am deeply outraged, and I think it is so perverse and inappropriate for young children.
So.
Capital S-O, yeah. A gender studies professor criticized the show for A gender studies professor criticized the show for perpetuating locker room culture and the patriarchy,
Wow.
but a family psychologist defended the show, saying the character has a childlike view and, quote, kids do find genitals funny. He adds that the character can be impulsive, but learns control and takes responsibility for his actions. For example, when a woman in the show tells him that he should keep his penis in his pants,
Yes.
he listens, which is nice.
That's
Unquote.
cool. That's a learning. Yeah.
By the way,
That's something a lot of people should know how to do.
really, yeah. Speaking of presidents, and by the way, the character John Dillermand, Diller is Danish slang for penis. And the Danish TV network also noted that a cartoon about a woman with no control over her vagina would be just as funny. Isn't that what Keeping Up with the Kardashians is about? Anywho, yes. So if Flag of Brazil, see the giant vulva. Yeah.
Wow.
And I guess that's the whole story. Let's go back to our safe zone of Greeley crimes and old times for 1 or 2 more stories. Here's a news story in the Daverhood. Police responded
That's like you.
to a home with a light flashing SOS in Morse code on 11th Avenue. So
What?
they saw like lights on the house.
How do you
We're
have
going-
time to watch a light? Oh God. Okay.
So somebody across the road was like seeing it was flashing Morse code, SOS. No, it was just flickering lights without any pattern
Of
at all.
course.
Yeah, it was like Christmas lights.
It's like I forgot to put, change the bulb kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much time on my hands and it's taken away.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, police responded to an alley on 9th Avenue where a woman reported a man flashed her and started peeing in the snow. Police did not find the man, nor any yellow snow.
You told me to beware of yellow snow.
Oh, watch out where the Huskies go. And don't you be eating that. Ladies and gentlemen, with that delicious note, that frosty, slushy kind of a note, we end this segment of Dave's Gone By. Greeley crimes, and old times.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool.
He wasn't.
I'm sure that you agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
But he is getting at you that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, 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 yi-yi, yippee, yippee, yippee.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Here on Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Leftwitz. So, man, so much fun today and such a fun
believe
episode.
that the quiz went so well with one person.
Well, it's just like asking someone
It's
questions.
because even many guests have commented, how does David know all that stuff? Like, how does he amass all that knowledge? Many people have commented. So
Maybe next year, next week, I'll put in another manatee question to see if he boned up on his manatee
yeah, I think
studies.
you should maybe put no dugong.
A dugong. All right, there may be a dugong question on next week's
Yes, I think so.
yesterday quiz. So let me tell you, speaking of which, and we're very grateful. Even though he did not stick around to play our yesterday game, certainly very grateful for our new friend of the Daverhood, Woodie King Jr.
I disagree with the rabbi. I think most people know who W.E.B. Du Bois
Really?
is. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd never heard of him until I met you.
Oh, wow.
Really? No,
I haven't heard of a lot of things till you met me.
I couldn't even begin to tell you. I know he's black.
Double consciousness in the veil. It's the most common concept in sociology that it talks about race, particularly being a black male in society, that there's, it's,
Yeah. Oh, all right, I mean, fine. Yes, but knowing you,
yeah.
I learned about did not study him in school.
Wow.
It's a name.
I thought you had a good education.
I did, I learned about white people. and for the
And
first 70,
probably-
and Jews.
And the sad part is probably no women, mostly men. You probably never learned.
Absolutely. Well, Marie Curie, people like that,
Poor honey.
We learned in Hebrew school by Henrietta Joel, and I don't remember what the hell she did. I think she died in the Holocaust. So many of them did. Hannah, no, we didn't learn about Hannah Arendt, no. Anywho, where am I going with this? I'm going
What a
to
great guest.
thank Woodie King Jr. for being with us in the Daverhood, talking to Rabbi Saul Solomon. Want to remind you that on January 17th, his theater company is celebrating its 50th anniversary, the New Federal Theater. So go to newfederaltheater.com, theater with an R-E, on the 17th. You can make a donation, but celebrate with them. They'll have people, I'm sure Denzel Washington and people like Morgan Freeman and folks like that will be
Wasn't
virtually.
it funny how he said he had to cast someone who was like Denzel's wife, and like all those stories of how shows get on and what happens are just.
I know, and exponentially, because when you're off or off Broadway even, you have a certain level of control and you just get things done. Now the higher you move, the more fingers in the pie, the more people you have to answer to and have ridiculous answers to is true.
That was really interesting, and the fact that they have to, in this day and age in 2021, explain narrative of that's really
it is what well, you're also dealing with 20-year-olds.
I don't care.
Who are your bosses
There's
now?
a thing called interwebs.
I know. Well, yeah. If they want to take 5 minutes and go wiki instead of talking to a person, they could find out the information.
Yeah.
But we still like hearing from another person an answer to a question. There's nothing I can ask you or I like W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
I could just gone on Wikipedia and looked it up, but I wanted to hear from you who he was and what he wrote about. But anyway, thank you to Woodie King Jr., our friend of the Daverhood. Thank you to Rabbi Saul Solomon.
The links are in the watch group, the watch party, and they're also in your on the main page.
Oh, excellent.
I did a comment on your Dave Left quiz.
newfederaltheater.com and Rabbi Saul Solomon's website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T. Shalomdammit.com is the place, as the rabbi mentioned to Woodie King Jr., you can watch his stage show there. That was done at the Richmond Shepherd Theater about 8 or 9 years ago now. Wow. Plus his rabbinical reflections, plus the TV show he did on Long Island Cable. It's shalomdammit.com.
That's still going on. Right?
What is?
Oh no, the cable one is you.
Yeah. So both of them are friends of the Daverhood. But we also like to check on other people who have been on this program in years past. We like to know, hey, what are they up to? Because they're our friends of the Daverhood. So here's what's new with some of the people who have been on this program in months and years past. First of all, we want to wish a refuah shlema, a get better soon, to our musical friend Jeff Labus, who has anemia. And his daughter just got over COVID. So he's having a hell of a 2020 into 2021, but he seems to be on the mend. So let's hope for that. Jeff Labus, a keyboardist, worked on a couple of Van Morrison albums, very talented fella, and hope he gets better. Steve, some happy news, finally. Steve the Whistler Herbst got a certificate of participation for whistling in the 24-hour virtual variety show that was done just around the holidays. So yay, I tried to find his spot, but all I could find was the first 8 hours out of the 24 or the last 8 hours. So I missed him. I don't know where to watch the whole 24, but he was on that virtual variety show. So yay for him. Dave J, the guy who composed and sings what we often use as our outro theme, Dave's gone by, there goes the Daverhood. And he came on stage at one of the shows I did for Stage Buddy. Dave J, his full name is David J. Gerstein. He's doing live shows just like we are, Tuesday nights at 8 on Facebook. So many people have been like, Ellie, the King of Broadway. He does a morning show now. Dave J. Gerstein, he's doing a Facebook show. And then everybody looks at Dave's gone by and is like, oh, I can do that. All right, you do it and keep doing it. So yay for him. Want to let you know that Scott Siegel, mostly known as a theater entrepreneur and theater writer, his first novel, the Colt 44 Western Rider in the Rain, has been re-released. I mean, he wrote it decades ago. It's now an Amazon ebook that you can get for only $1.99. Scott Siegel, Rider in the Rain. And speaking of books, thank you so much to Vicky Quaddy for sending us a hard copy of her book, Close Encounters of a Chicago Kind. This is all about just for years living as a person and a theater artist in Chicago, Illinois. It's by who's the publisher?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me. She signed it too.
It's Eckhart's Press, E-C-K-H-A-R-T-Z.
Eckhart's Press, to get Close Encounters of a Chicago Kind, written by our friend of the Daverhood, Vicky Quade. And Q-U-A-D-E is the way that is spelled, by the way. So check that out. Want to remind you also, that my high school friend and friend of the Daverhood, Robert Kalem, has a new article about business and technology in the January/February issue of I3 magazine. So you can check that out, Robert Kalem, C-A-L-E-M. The movie Adventures of Power by our friend Ari Gold is getting a re-release on Amazon Prime. Gold has been hosting weekly watch parties with rock stars to raise money for charity. Find out about all of this at arigoldfilms.com, A-R-I goldfilms.com. Playing now through the end of January. Oh, we should watch this. Amy Coleman and David Mandelbaum are starring in an adaptation of The Dybbuk for New Yiddish Repertory Theater. So go to their website and watch The Dybbuk, the class. Speaking of Jewish plays that Woodie King was talking about, they're doing it, and it's on. I think it's on YouTube or on the site from New Yiddish Rep. Go watch that now through the end of January. On January 15th, this week, Mike Agranoff is doing an online concert. You can find that at folkproject.org. Playing now through January 20th. This is kind of sort of important.
What?
One of the few remaining cabaret clubs in New York City is, surprise, in trouble. It's called Pangea.
Oh no.
They're downtown. I think they're over
Oh,
near the Lower
no.
East Side. Well, it's sad. I mean, cabaret clubs struggle in the best of times. What the hell do you do in a pandemic? So they are trying to stay afloat and looking for donations and help. So it's Pangea, PANGEANYC.com. And among the people,
Or they just gonna...
they're doing like, they're putting up videos by artists saluting
Okay.
them. And those include our friends, Charles Bush and David Kale.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, check that all out now through the 20th,
Great.
PangeaNewYorkCity.com. Reminding you that Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are posting duets on their YouTube page. Evan Setlow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com. Dr. Demento doing Dr. Demento shows at drdemento.com. SoundsOfBroadway.com is a place you can hear Broadway music 24/7 on the interwebs. Stuart Brown is the founder of that. And finally, of course, our beloved Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Well, it's 12:15 here Eastern Time in the Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my wonderful wife, Joyce. And gosh, we just got to do some thank yous. First of all, we thanked, of course, Woodie King Jr. for being with us in the Daverhood, and Rabbi Saul Solomon, David Sheward, whom you can read at his blog, The David Desk, or at theaterlife.com and culturalweekly.com. And let's see, so we did that and talked about politics, and we talked about my Uncle Sonny, to whom this show is dedicated. And we did, we did so
much. You
so
packed
much.
it in.
Yeah, we did. That's what she said. We did
Yeah,
our.
where do you look to? I don't know. Apologize to the watch party
Yeah.
people. I can't talk. I can't.
Maybe later today we'll go on and try and see what's happening with that and figure out what's up with the watch
I
party.
don't know. Maybe I don't know what I did.
But I guess we've done pretty much everything that we've set out to accomplish for this episode of the show. So it remains for me, David Love. Oh, wait a moment.
Oh no.
Oh, you didn't think I would forget. You didn't think that I would neglect
Oh honey, I'm sorry. The internet shut down.
to do. No, I'm being impeached from the show. No, you didn't think that I would forget about our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is every week, because Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years. For no particular reason, I started writing short, ridiculous, and disgusting poems about all the different towns and cities and places in Colorado. And I've been offering one of these poems per week for all our Dave's Gone By shows for a couple of years now. I've got a lot of them. And I have a new one. Yesterday's Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We go to Yellow Jacket, Colorado.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain,
Colorado, indeed. Yes, we go to Yellow Jacket, Colorado. This is a real place. It's an unincorporated community in Montezuma County in very far southwest Colorado, bordering another state almost.
It's near what state?
Oh, I don't know my maps. Probably, maybe Utah or something? Something on the west.
Utah.
Named, and why do they name it Yellow Jacket, Colorado? Because when they first founded the place, there was just this enormous proliferation of yellow jacket bees that were there. So it must have been real fun to settle over there. Although I guess
your version of hell.
you had a lot of honey, so that'd be all right, but still.
And you know what I heard?
What?
It was a buzz in place.
Oh, don't be a buzzkill. You know who? What celebrity bought a house there?
I don't know who.
Sting.
And you know who it was settled by?
Who?
Wasps.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
And by the way, hon, after the show,
Yeah.
get your clothes off because I'm feeling a hornet.
Oh boy.
Anywho, yeah, this is the quality. When you're 3 hours into the show, this is what we descend to.
I'm
but-
so mad I can't have my watch party.
In Yellow Jacket, Colorado, there's a lot of historical Pueblo sites, Pueblo
Oh, it's
Indian
funny.
sites.
Look,
What?
Just when you said that, Honey joined the group. Honey
Really?
joined the watch party, yeah.
Oh, do we have it listed? Were you taking names?
I can't because I can't see anybody. Won't let me see.
Well, Honey was there, and you said my Aunt Esther was there.
Paul, Kevin,
Yeah.
Peter, Mark, Sid, Sue.
Oh.
Sue from UNC Sue.
Oh, hey, another Dr. Sue. Hey, Dr.
Mhm,
Sue.
Two Dr. Sues.
So yeah, well, hop on pop. Okay, 2 Dr. Sues.
Oh,
And,
God.
anyway, let's get back to our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. As of 2010, there were 32 people living in Yellow Jacket, Colorado. So I tell you just how popular the place is. And here's the deal. You can buy a nice 3-bedroom house
Yeah.
in Yellow Jacket for $610,000.
That's not cheap.
No, well, the house happens to come with 40 acres.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you can still, pretty more of a bargain than you think. But anyway, there's no bargain now in the Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where we have a disgusting get your kids out of the room poem. It's not that bad. For Yellow Jacket, Colorado. Ahem. A pervert in old what?
God.
Yes, I'll do that again. A pervert in old Yellow Jacket devised quite a deviant racket. He'd pull down his drawers and get on all fours and pay all the children to smack it. Yes, that's our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Please send your complaints to Dave's Gone By at AOL.com, Dave's Gone By at AOL.com. Follow me on Twitter, Radio Dave 2, or post your messages and invite people to watch the show live on Saturday mornings right here on our Facebook page, Dave's Gone By. Remember that our archives are at archive.org, castbox.fm, and YouTube as well. Remember that for all your copying and printing and binding and other business needs, Hewlett Minuteman Press are the copy kings of Broadway. Since the mid-1970s, the Torong family has owned and operated this franchise of Minuteman right here on Hewlett, or in Hewlett, Long Island. They're only about 2.5 blocks from the LIRR that nobody's riding. And let's see, we have Woodie King Jr., K for King. Of course, they don't have anything listed for the letter K. W they got wedding accessories, including attendance gifts, balloons, direction cards, guest books, ketubas, memory books, lace cards, toasting glasses, and more. Wedding invitations and enclosures and wedding programs. So if you're doing, don't just think of Minuteman as a place for photocopying or maybe UPS mailing stuff. They can help you with weddings and bar mitzvahs and quinceañeras. They can also do bindery work, law enforcement printing work, and if you need your logo, your team's or your business's logo on uniforms, on sporting goods, sporting equipment, sportswear, on calendars, on banners, Hewlett Minuteman Press is the place to go. And if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So give them a call. 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are not the Woodie Kings, they are the Copy Kings. Well, I feel royally good. I feel, once again, week after week, I keep waiting for a disaster. The New Year's show went really well.
First, you were only doing the show yourself. That was.
Actually, we did start. We were a minute or two late starting the show because I accidentally went to a Facebook that was didn't let anybody else see but me. But we picked that up thanks to Joyce immediately, and then we're here, and the show went great. And the last bunch of shows have gone great. So you have to keep tuning in to find when the real disaster, like when the guest doesn't show up, when we have terrible technical difficulties, when, I have an enormous canker sore growing in my mouth, I can barely talk. It'll come. We've done too many really, really good episodes of the show in a row that we're due. We're just like the stock market. It's going to crash at some point. We just don't know when. So you have to tune in every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts, right here on this Facebook page for Dave's Gone By. We'll be here, God willing, and the creeks don't rise next Saturday. I believe it's the
Videos.
16th.
It tells you how many people watched it in here.
Oh, does it?
Mhm.
Oh, cool. So keep tuning in. Tell your friends. Keep watching. I don't know if we'll have a guest or who the guest is next week, but we're getting people. And then the week after, I'm going to celebrate my birthday on the air because it will be my birth date. And then coming later in the, I might as well tell you now, at the very, very end of the month, the last show we're doing in January, our guest will be actress Jessica Schur. She's coming on the show. Jessica Schur, she is doing this Zoom performance called Betty Davis Ink for Sissies. And if you want to talk about someone who was doing this just in regular theater and then figured out a way to market the hell out of a show and just make it known because every theater company now, it took a bunch of months, but every actor, every theater company is either doing a podcast or a reading or a Zoom virtual thing or both. They're all climbed on the back. Now you don't even, there's so much to watch. It's already overload. But she figured out a way to cut through all that and make Betty Davis's for Sissies something that anybody in the theater world either knows about or has watched. So we're going to ask Jessica Schur about that at the end of the month. And by the way, you can still watch Betty Davis is for Sissies. Go look for her, SHERR, Jessica Schur. She will be with us in a couple of weeks, but we'll be back next week with the 781st edition of Dave's Gone By. Until then, try not to storm any government buildings. Try to have a safe and good and healthy week. And bye-bye, Uncle Sonny, and gone by.
Gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by. Days gone by.